Let's go. Oh yeah, there's like a 20-second, 25-second delay on YouTube. Interesting.
Yeah.
What's up, gang? Good afternoon, everyone. Every day is exactly the same. I was asking Tony right before we went live. I was like, how much Nin do you think I could sing before we get DMCA'd? Dude, I didn't know you were such a big Nin fan. Me too, Brightside. Me too. I know all the songs you're quoting, brother. I fucking love that band so much. They're one of the only bands that I've seen in concert. I was at the Fragility tour in '99 in Denver, and it was fucking amazing. It was so good. Get the fuck out of here. Stop it, dude. We're going to make you get first. It's going to happen. You keep acting up, bro. You'll see. You're going to get first.
Where was that Nine Inch Nails concert? Mile High Stadium?
The Pepsi Center.
Oh, okay. Pepsi Center already existed.
Yep. It was like one of the first shows that they did at the venue.
Okay.
In '99. I want to say it opened in like '97 or '98.
Now I guess there anymore. It's the
Ball Arena.
Ball Arena. Yep.
Pepsi Center open. Oh shit! No, it opened in October of '99. So Nin Fragility was probably one of the first shows
One of the first things that you did there. Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it was sick. It was such a cool show. The crazy thing was we were there. We had some tickets, and
did one of our friends line for tickets at a box office?
No, our friend got us all tickets, but we were waiting to go in, and one of our friends got backstage passes, but he was like going to take this chick that he brought, and we were all like mad about it because we're like, she doesn't even fucking like this band. So then another dude was like, I can't remember what radio station it was. It might have been 93.3, but they had a booth out there, and they were doing a contest for like who's the biggest Nin fan. And my one of our friends who was like 15 or 16, he's like, dude, I don't give a shit. I will sew this Nin patch into my arm right now. And we were like,
wow.
All right, do it, bro. And the disc jockey was like, no, there's no way. And there were a couple people that were in like goth gear, and they were like, I'm the biggest Nin fan. Look at my tattoos. And he's like gritting his teeth while the chick is like fucking sewing it into his arm. And the dude's like, all right, stop. You win, man. You got it. You win.
Holy shit.
It was crazy. It was sick. So he got in. I didn't get backstage passes, but we were waiting outside of the venue in the parking lot. And my friend, another friend of mine who's like 17, had a Pretty Hate Machine shirt on. And he got assaulted by a random dude in the parking lot. Dude like started beating his ass and like ripping the shirt off of his back. He's like, that's a nice shirt, man. Give me that shirt. And then, security was rolling up. They're like, what's going on here? And I was like, yo, this guy's just assaulted my friend, like, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, a van rolled up with cops, and the cops, like, drew guns on him and shit. It was crazy. I was like, I'm about to see a guy get shot. So, yeah, that was my Nin, experience there. I also saw, I think a year later, Tool for the Lateralis tour. And then I saw them the same year in Colorado Springs at the World Arena. Very, 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 very good shows. The crazy part was the first Tool opener at the Pepsi Center was Tomahawk, which is sick as fuck. I don't know if you guys know Tomahawk. It's with the guy from Faith No More, Pat something. Anyway, guy from Faith No More. And then Nin, the opener for Nin was A Perfect Circle at Fragility, which was incredible. So it was like Perfect Circle, their debut album. They played that whole set. And then we got Nine Inch Nails for like 3.5 hours because Trent always plays a crazy encore. The encore was like an hour and a half long. It was insane. Tool's phenomenal live. I don't know if I'm sure they're still that good. I mean, guys, you got to remember, I'm talking like 20 years ago. So things are different. People get older. They may not be so hot at performing live. Yeah, during the Nin concert, we were close to the barricade, so we were probably like 10-15 feet from Trent the whole time. Like we were right up at the front, and he was singing March of the Pigs into Piggy off of the Downward Spiral, and he's saying "Hey Pig," and he's like, Trent's on his back like with the mic, you know, and he's reaching out and he grabbed the chick that was with us, grabbed her hand. And she's like, "Oh my God, Trent's singing to me." We were like, "Shut the fuck up, Kira. He just said, 'Hey pig' to you. He's calling you a pig." It's so good. Snooze fest. Yeah, I can imagine. But like, you know, older Tool had a lot of energy. Like I've been listening to Tool. They were a new band when I was in high school in the 90s. And so, you know, first album I listened to was Opiate. I bought Anima when I was like 15, something like that. But yeah, Undertow, Opiate, Anima, Lateralis, 10,000 Days. 10,000 Days was kind of okay, but I think Anima is probably my favorite Tool album. Yeah, and then all the Nins, you know, good stuff. I think my first album I ever got was Offspring Smash, and the second album I ever got was and I'm talking compact disc. Second album I ever got was 9 Inch Nails Broken. So the very first piece of music that I owned as like a listener, as like a human being, was MC Hammer's Too Legit single on cassette tape. That was the shit. Too Legit to Quit. I think that's it. Do you guys remember the hand motion? Anyone old enough?
Yep.
Tony's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, old man?" Yeah. So, Tony, did you want to just go straight into Lyra? Like, what do you want to get after today?
I mean, we can just kind of chill and let people filter in. I'm just gonna fiddle around with this model and, you know, whatever.
Turning Cog, since you're here, bro.
Overlay.
Yeah, Turning Cog, since you're here, do you have any questions about the P4 stuff, or was like yesterday's stream good? You said you watched the VOD. Like, what are your feels on that, dog? Also, what's up, Adder?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I almost kind of want to make like a more straightforward, like condensed video out of it, maybe. So it was a good kind of practice run through what we'll have to do, though.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great idea. Could be good content for the YouTube.
Yep.
What did we have? Let me see if we had any like stuff I can yap about from that I didn't cover on yesterday. Oh, okay. Let's do this one. Let's do this. We'll talk about the Razer Project Ava. I don't really know much about this, Tony. You just sent me a tweet about it or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about it other than what I sent you, but
there's a glass cylinder with like what seems like maybe a hologram in it, and Razer just announced this. Like, I guess Tony was saying a lot of the reaction to it would people were like, "Guys, April is not for another couple months. What are you doing?"
Yep.
So like, this is probably a real product. I don't know why they're making it, but you can have a little anime girl.
A lot of their images show this one, but then a lot of the other content was more stuff like this.
They have Faker. That's so weird. Faker not picking his nose. It's crazy.
A real person?
Yeah, so Faker is a League of Legends superstar. He's like a pro player.
Okay.
He's like arguably the best player in like Korea or something like that. But I was saying not picking his nose because last time I was watching, he's like in the middle of a game, like playing very high stakes. There's like millions of people watching this, and he's just fucking digging in his nose, dude. Just like one knuckle deep in there. I'm like, bro, you're on a stage with cameras all over you. What are you doing? You're crazy. Razer's made some weird ass shit in the past, so I wasn't surprised when I saw this thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. It's weird because like I have Razer stuff, like my keyboard. The only reason I still have this keyboard is because I've spilled 4 beers directly into this keyboard, and then rinsed it out with a hose, and it's fine. Every time, it's completely fine. This thing will not die, so I'm letting it live forever. What's up, Omni?
I have that same keyboard, but I want to say like 2 of the keys don't work anymore, which I could fix, but I would have to just get in there and like desolder switches. Could be fixed. I
do have a Razer Death Adder too, but this thing, like, the buttons broke on it. So like one of the clicks will like multi-click or like fail to click at all. I'll still use it for stuff, just not like gaming, because it's not helpful to have something not click sometimes. Yeah, so Omni, you just gotta stop making macros, dude. that'll fix that problem for you. My biggest gripe with it is I have a Razer laptop. It's over here ish. It's a very nice fancy laptop, but they rolled out a bunch of software stuff like Razer Cortex, and I installed that, and it's kind of like NVIDIA Shadow Play or like Xbox Game Bar, so that you can like record footage and stuff like that. And Cortex almost bricked my laptop as soon as I installed it. So this is a Razer first-party product. They make the laptop. They pushed software that if you downloaded and installed would make the laptop blue screen. And I was like, what the fuck? So I started looking online to try to figure out what it was, and everyone was like, uninstall Cortex, uninstall it, it's bad. And so I uninstalled it. Laptop was fine afterward. They make great mice. So this is the GOAT mouse for me. Logitech G Pro X wireless, G Pro super light, something like that.
I have a G502X, but also Logitech.
Yeah, I fucking love this mouse. It's super, super lightweight, and it's just really, really good. I will definitely buy another one of these when this thing, finally gives up the ghost. Or I break a button on it or something, right? But yeah, very good mouse. They have some weird shit in their legacy catalog. Yeah, they do. Adder, I really don't like their headphones. I don't know if you guys if I've ever talked about headphones, but this HyperX Cloud, HyperX Cloud Alpha is what I use. HyperX Cloud is the only headset that doesn't give me it doesn't have like hot spots, like either on top of my ears. I actually have a pretty small head, so like when I put headphones on, even with the cups pushed all the way to the top, they'll push down on the tops of my ears because my head's just not big enough. This is the only one that actually like fits on my head and doesn't hurt. I used Astros for a while, and the crossbar on the top would press down on the top of my head, and that fucking hurt. I don't know, man. It's always been a struggle. So if you guys kind of have a similar problem, or like you're worried about, you can't really find a comfortable headset, strongly recommend the HyperX Cloud series. It's phenomenal. They're really, really good headsets. Lexip PU94. I don't believe anything you're saying, Omni, because you're the type of person that would buy like 15 different mice. Tony, what did you say? Around the time I moved away from cherry switches and proprietary ones and keyboards? Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I'm pretty sure these are the cherries, right? Like this.
Yeah, the iteration after that, they went to these like proprietary.
They did the hybrid diaphragm.
Mechanical. Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
Those switches suck ass. I do not like them at all. It feels so weird.
Like the next iteration of that keyboard had like full RGB, but it wasn't cherry switches anymore. And I bought one and took it back because I liked that keyboard so much. I was like, I will buy another one just to have RGB because I like the keyboard so much, and it wasn't the same.
If you guys want to get real nerdy about keyboards, Tony is definitely a person to talk to about that. I think we've talked about it a little bit. He has like
all those drawers back there have switches and keycaps in them. It's not something that's usually on camera, but
Tony's definitely a keyboard guy. I have over here somewhere. Oh, it's back there. I've got a ducky right there on that blanket. I don't know. I don't care about it. It's weird. I'm not like a big peripherals guy. Like if it works and it's comfortable, I'll use it, and then I'll use it until it literally falls apart, and then go get a new one.
And I mean, for like your home office, like I don't know, I want like 120% keyboard. I want it to have like the numpad, and extra macro buttons, and a knob, and a little screen on it. Like people who are running like a 60% at their home desk, doesn't make sense to me.
All right, I gotta look at this.
I think your ducky's like a 70 or 80% or something.
Yeah, it's It doesn't have the keypad on it, and I don't like that. That's why I don't use it. It was my brother-in-law's, and he was like, "Here, have this keyboard. I have too many." You're a 60% heathen? That's crazy. Why would you do that to yourself?
That is crazy. What kind of 60%?
Adder's like, I hate myself for being
okay. He has a bougie 60% though, so I'll let it slide.
Okay. I'm looking at this Lexus.
Yeah, it's not very ergo, man. Like you shouldn't be all hunched in like that. It's bad for your back muscles and shit. That's why you need like, you know, the split.
Yeah, look at Tony's wacky
arms
shit,
out,
dude.
You know.
Got the little thingies, dude.
Yep.
Okay, so what is this Lexus PU94? It's wired. Omni, you are an insane person. Why is this the best mouse you've ever used? Now I have to know.
Lexus, yeah, I want to look at this too.
It's wired. I don't see a wireless one.
I mean, I'm usually okay with wired things, but
I'm wireless pilled now entirely. Just
I mean, I'm definitely more so lately. Like, you know, I want to use like a keyboard and mouse with my laptop, and if I have to get my wired shit out, there's like spaghetti around me and drives me insane.
Yep. I don't like the wire because when I'm like playing FPS, the wire will like hit shit or snag on things, and it drives me fucking crazy.
Does this have like roller balls on the bottom? And a joystick?
A clown Omni slightly, and he just vanishes. Now I have to know more. What is this fucking thing? What are you even doing with this?
Intuitively master 3D environments of design software and video games. Merges 2 joysticks. Dual thumb joystick and 360 internal pivot. Interesting.
Oh, there we go. He's here.
So it's like a space mouse, but it's a mouse.
It's weird because as a left joystick, you can lean the mouse forward, backward, left, or right for additional movement, and ceramic pads on the bottom so it moves effortlessly.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, but I'm assuming the ceramic pads are probably smoother than this like polymer that they put, this like slick polymer that's on like every mouse.
It's linoleum.
Oh, it's like actually linoleum?
I'm pretty sure it's linoleum or like some sort of 3M proprietary PTFE pad, some shit like that. Yeah,
that's why I was just like polymer. It's some synthetic.
You can buy like bougie mouse skates and stuff now. The market is so wild.
I've seen those. They're not like cloth pads. They're like yeah.
Well, no, it's like definitely similar to like these white ones on my mouse, but like they make like glass ones that you can get and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting that this mouse is wired, but has like a detachable wire. I guess so you can bring your own wire if you want, but they don't have a wireless version. I
didn't see one.
Doesn't look like it. Maybe just with all that functionality, it doesn't work wireless.
Yeah. I mean, that little thumbstick thing would make me lose my fucking mind. I would hit it all the time.
I mean, I want to say the newer versions of the Death Adder mouse, you can swap that plate on the side, and one of the options is the joystick, isn't it?
Yep.
Touchable wire is the only shitty part. The plug can get screwed up through normal use. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Tony, chat I just noticed is stuck from yesterday.
Oh, I tried to fix it.
Yeah, we got Lucian Galaxy in there.
I made it worse.
I'm in here right now. Turning Cock says, I got a Corsair K100, Night Sword mouse, and Audio Technica M30X.
Nice.
Are those nice?
I don't know what a Night Sword is, but the Audio Technicas are pretty solid, and I think I have a Corsair K100.
Ooh.
Used to be on the stream computer. But
yeah, those Audio Technicas look really nice.
Yeah, they're very comfortable. Sound really good. I'm a Pioneer headphone guy, but it's just what I've always thought.
I wish they made these higher end headphones with something like this fucking strap and shit. Because yeah, I mean, like when I was at Bungie, I went through like 3 different headsets. You know, there was like a bin. I could just go like pick different headsets or talk to IT and like.
Some of those like higher end like Sennheisers or like Audis or something might be up your alley, but you're definitely going to be spending like.
I'm not going to spend
$1,500.
$1,500 on.
No, I'm talking like probably 3 to 5, but.
Yeah, I just don't even care. But I mean, I
don't think Vince is enough of an audiophile to really care about that too much.
Definitely not.
I just want something comfy and reliable.
Yeah, the comfort is number one thing for me, without a doubt. If it's like I was saying, when I was at Bungie, I tried a bunch of different reference headphones and all kinds of other shit. I ended up going with some like ratty Sonys.
Oh, these are actually the ones I was thinking of. I forgot their Bear Dynamics. Is the ones that Greg said probably would be actually perfect for you. You see all the streamers wearing these because you can wear them for like 8 hours and it doesn't hurt. And they're actually not too bad. I thought they were more expensive than that, but under $200. So
DT770 Pro? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've only heard positive things about these, so I've never used them personally, but I definitely agree with Greg, and I know Greg has a pretty strong opinion about audio things. So.
Yes, he does. I do trust that. Yeah, that's one of the things that I will not clown Omni about is his audio stuff. Omni, if you want to buy me some of those for Christmas, then I'll fucking wear those, dude. I'm just playing. It's not just comfort. They have some of the best spatial audio response I've ever heard.
Yep.
Okay.
Part of me wants to get open backs. Is it Bear Dynamics that has the open backs that all the streamers wear too? Let's see if Greg will know what I'm talking about for sure. No, I want to say these are really expensive, the 990s.
I mean, I really like these wireless because I can, with the like dongle on this, I can walk around my house and it like works all over my house. So I can like still chat with people on like in my kitchen and shit.
Yeah, these aren't the ones I'm thinking of though. I'm thinking of these Sennheisers. Yeah.
Turning Cog, these
sound pretty good.
These are like $80 if you want to try them out and you want a good wireless headset. Cloud Alphas. It might be Cloud 3 now. I
definitely can't like talk to people or like listen to things and I walk away, but you guys know I just use speakers as much as humanly possible because I don't want to put the headset on and off.
I really hate doing the headset personally. Oh, looks like they went up in price. Cloud Alpha is now Cloud Alpha Wireless is like $125 on Amazon, I think. Yeah. But they're, I swear to God, really, really, really good headset. I get them to walk around and stretch and shit, so wireless would be awesome. Adder, do yourself a favor. Try out these HyperXs, man. Whole team is switching to full mic with studio monitors. That's so funny. I worked with a bunch of people like that at Bungie for sure. And they weren't the audio people. They were just like, I got these really nice studio reference headset. I'm like, bro, what do you mean? You're just listening to like cinematic scores while you're writing code.
I mean, full mic studio monitors is definitely the way to be. That's all I do.
Yeah, if it's like your personal setup, I get it.
Especially like Adder, you told us that you do Discord for work, and that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
We never have any audio bleed issues. Like I could be playing music as loud as I can possibly play it, where like I would get a noise complaint from my neighbors, and generally Discord doesn't pick it up, and Vince and I can just talk. It doesn't work on the stream, of course. It works really poorly on the stream, but that is one really amazing thing about Discord that most other things don't do a really good job of, is it just cuts out all of the background crap, and especially because I'm playing music through Discord, I think that gives it a better idea of what to cancel out. And yeah, so that's always really nice, especially with this setup without the headphones.
Tony, you kind of got the chat overlay updated, but it's still from yesterday. It says laters.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Oh yeah, we got some stuff from today. There's Brightside saying he refuses to try to get first.
Is it like backwards or something? It's like really small on my screen right now, so I can't.
Yeah,
see it,
if you scrolled down and you saw Sushi Fu on there, that was from yesterday. So it looks like when you're scrolling up.
I'm not controlling it. It's just like the overlay, but I'm.
Oh, okay.
The AI is like sending iteration updates.
I got
it. It'll get
just behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just behind. Fiancés also work from home, so I don't care, or I don't know. Discord, yeah. Anyone with Echo, we can usually help them tweak it until it's dialed. Incredibly impressive filtering. Yeah, the filtering is wild. It's really, really good.
It'd be nice if they would just give us a way to hook into it, like I guess the same way that we were able to, like with Skype or something, and then that's all we would need to use, but it just doesn't let you.
That's good advice, Omni. If you're shopping for headphones, one of the best things is like go to like a Guitar Center or like an audio store and then try them all on. Yeah.
Although I will say, if you can avoid shopping at Guitar Center, you should, because I hate that place.
Why do you hate it? I'm just curious.
They're very rude and elitist, in my opinion.
Yep.
Anytime I go, and I've hung out in there with a lot of very legitimate musicians and people who are trying to spend a lot of money, and they're just very consistently dicks and just
They're like, you guys are technicians. You don't even play
every
guitar.
time I've gone there to buy something, you know, the guy behind the counter always tries to talk me into buying something else, even though like I went in there only because they're the only place that sold the very specific thing that I wanted to buy. Like I had to like fight the dude when I was trying to buy these headphones because he thought I should buy something else. And just every time I go to Guitar Center, it's like that. So I really try not to give them my business when I can help it.
Yeah, I would if there was someone arguing with me, I'd be like, listen, man, I already told you no. I don't want your opinion. I'm buying this. Like, what's your problem? The manager at the Guitar Center. Is this a Karen story? Is Omni a Karen? Total ass toad to everyone until we walked out one day with a $4,000 guitar. Now he kisses our asses when he sees us walk in.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I kind of got that vibe. I knew someone that worked at Guitar Center for a long time. I mean, he was a cool guy. Yeah, he's a like guitar and bass player, I think, but he was like a professional doing that for a very long time. Never really made it. He was in a band that was somewhat known locally, like they got radio play on KBPI back in the 90s. They're called Sick Box.
Sick Box, nice.
Yeah, he hated the name of it. He was like, I didn't pick the name. This name fucking sucks. But yeah, Sick Box was like a local Denver metal band. I'm trying to look them up. They don't really have much of an internet presence. I feel like they died in the early 2000s. Like they broke up and all that. Like probably like by 2003 they were done.
Greg says, what's crazy around here and in LA is you can walk into a Guitar Center and run into a celebrity musician at random. Yep. Which I guess kind of gives you the state of the music store industry.
Yeah, Brightside, what's your take on Guitar Center? I want to know this as like the most preeminent musician in our community, right? Like what's your take?
If you're gonna go to Guitar Center, would you go there like second or third or maybe like before second?
Turning cock, I gotta say, be careful. You and Omni share a lot of similarities in personality, brother. You might be looking in the mirror. That's not to say I dislike either of you guys. I very much like both of you, so don't worry about that. But you guys are a couple of dorks. But I love that about you. Don't change. Be dorks. You're totally fine. Yeah, I don't think I would want to run into a celebrity musician in LA. It'd probably be annoying.
I don't want to run into you either, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably want to run into me because I'm just a normal person and I'm not going to be weird as fuck. But like,
true.
That's what would bother me is that people would be like, "Oh, did you know that's that guy? Yeah, that guy's in here." And I'd be like, "I don't care, dude. I'm here to shop for something. I'm not here to go like fucking bother someone else who's like going about their day." Oh, butt crumbs. See, there you go, Turning Cog. I told you. You and Omni are very similarly coded
butt
people.
Crumbs. Ew.
Yeah, you guys are very similar. Very different, but also, you know, you guys have similar quirks in your personalities. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about the Razer AI thing. That was weird as fuck. We did talk about High Guard yesterday.
I keep thinking the High Guard. I don't know. So like, if you're the High Guard devs and this whole news cycle about how like you're not saying anything and you're not advertising your game that comes out in 2 weeks is happening, I don't know what you do. Like, I think they're kind of got themselves in a corner. I don't think there's an easy way out.
Yep. That's probably why they're staying silent. If they say anything, everyone's looking for them to say something. They have to be really careful about what they say. And you can either choose to say absolutely nothing because the buzz is already happening. People are talking about you.
Yeah.
And then you show instead of say. You go, here's the game. Here's a nice big thing. You know, you just give it to them and go, this is what we are.
Yeah.
And that will either stop everyone from talking or be worse and just exacerbate your problems. Yeah, I agree, Adder. The hard part was like working on Destiny. We went through that shit a lot, especially early on. And that was generally the company line was like, just don't fucking say anything. We need to just be quiet. Yes, it sucks to hear this. It's frustrating, and you want to be like, no, you don't understand. You have this one piece wrong, but I'm going to say this. And like, it was just generally better to not say anything. I know that's probably not going to resonate well with a lot of gamers, you know, in chat and you guys out on the internet, but you have to consider the situation. I know you guys like are very passionate and want answers and you want to know something. You want some kind of word from somebody that it's all going to be okay, or a reassurance or a confirmation of the thing you're excited about, right? Like you want that badly. It's almost never good for the entity that you're questioning to answer your question. It's almost never good for them, because while you might be happy with the answer, there might be like 30,000 other people who hate that answer and don't want to fucking talk about it. You know, like it's just crazy. It gets really, really tricky. That's you guys have heard me say it before. That's what I really respected about Deej. That dude was always in the line of fire. You know, he got memed and made fun of for a bunch of shit, but he always took it with grace. He did such a good job, and he would like kind of, you know, self-deprecate a little bit and be like, yeah, I get it, guys. The one that really did get to him though was when he was playing the game and people were like, this guy is such ass at the game, he can't even play the game, and it just hurt his feelings. He's like, I'm fucking old, man. I never said I was good at the game. Like, I'm trying here. I love the game. That's all I'm trying to do. So I felt really bad for him after that, but because of that, he was like, I will never, ever show my gameplay again. So that's when he started getting DMG and Cosmo, you know, up there doing demos, or like people from the test team. You know, we had a lot of.
I thought you were gonna say up their ass.
No. They, you almost baited me into saying some shit. You almost baited me, dude. No, I'm not gonna do it. I love Cosmo. Chris is a great guy. That's it. I'm not gonna say anything else. But yeah, so the other thing is that we had a lot of like pro or semi-pro gamers that worked at the studio, so getting them on the sticks was generally a good idea too, because then everyone, you know, watching could see high-tier gameplay. Oh, he knows. There's inside secret lore turning cog. I was about to talk a lot of shit.
I just, if those names come up, I just assumed I knew what was going to follow. That's all.
Activision would straight up threaten to fire people regularly in HR emails about making sure no one said fucking shit. Yeah, exactly. Bungie was exactly like that too, Adder. If you like tweeted something, there was a time where you would come get a talking to, you know? So I remember like orientation first day primer, Deej was like, you guys have social media? And I was like, no. And he goes, excellent. I love that. You're the best. Be exactly like him. And I was like, all right. It was always a Tim Robinson. I didn't say shit. Made examples of people with insane financially ruining lawsuits. Oh my God. That sucks, dude. Yeah, but Adder, you have to, I'm sure you understand why. Like you're on the inside, you get it. But people on the outside would be like, why would you do that? These guys are evil corpos. But it's like, dude, when you're talking and you're not the communications director and you're not skilled in public communication and all that, you don't understand how to do it, you will fuck things up so bad. So bad. It's not a good idea to have people just be out there like, that's why I've told you guys this is such a huge risk for us, like doing the stream, because I know who I am and I know how I am. But having been who I am for 40 something years and talking to people in public, people like it. They enjoy my candor. They like that I'm super honest and that I'm just a person. So hopefully it stays that way and you guys don't hate me, because I don't want you to hate me, because that would be bad for our business. It's not that I care. Like it's not that I'm like, I need the approval. I need the, attention. It's just more like, I don't want to say anything that hurts us. Right. Like I would feel so bad if I did or said something that hurt the business. So I try to do the opposite. I try to just be positive, and I don't know. 1 year they asked for people's social media accounts. They got in trouble for that one. Dude, Adder, that was the norm at Bungie. It was, you are not allowed to have a social media account. You cannot stream. There was a very strict policy about being a streamer, because I guess the argument was, if you use your I am a game dev at Bungie to grow a social media following, you're profiting off of the company. And so there was like a legal liability there for them that they didn't want to do. So that was the justification. I know that there were a lot of people that were like, can't do this, it's fucked up. And there were like people who fought for it. And I was like, dude, just let it go. You don't need to be on social media. Just shut the fuck up. Oh, they made you stop too? That's crazy, bro. Yeah, and Bungie was very strict about that. Like crazy strict about that. You signed, like the paperwork I signed to get in there, there's like a lifetime non-disparagement clause. So I can't be like, I can't just like talk shit, I have to be careful about the things I say that are like factual statements. I can't just be like, these guys got their heads up their ass, they're fucking idiots, never buy their stuff. I can't say anything like that, because that's defamation, and like there's nothing grounded in that, right? Like I can't make false claims. I have to just talk about my personal experience and make everything about me, not necessarily about another person. Obviously it's different if someone is no longer employed and there was like a scandal and they got removed from the company, like Chris Barrett and Pete Parsons, you know what I mean? So like those guys, whatever, fuck those guys. The room's windows were blacked out. Even people within the studio were not allowed to enter our area within the building. Yeah, Adder, that was what it was like inside the studio Bungie. They spent a crazy amount of money getting this like one-way like blackout film on all the windows for the studio. Did you ever get to go to the studio in Bellevue at Lincoln? It was cool. It was a really, really interesting space. I liked it a lot. A lot of people complained and said it was too dark. There was always an ongoing war between like the people who wanted the shades drawn and like the lights on or not. There was every day there was a war, because we had this huge open office concept. So like pretty much everyone sat in the same room. There were like 400 people in the same room. Yes, it was very dark, very crowded. They moved the workstations around a lot. So based on like whatever release you were on, you would be like in a pod with all your team members, which I thought it was really nice, because then I could just be like, hey bro, how do you like whatever, But we live in the future world where you can do all that online, so it's not even necessary anymore. But yeah, this is like 2015 was when I came in, and I was like, this is a novel concept. I've never been in an office environment like that. It's really cool. I liked it. Yeah, permanent 4-pod open team areas, absolutely. The worst was as the team scaled up, they bought space in an adjacent office building. So we were in like an office building that was like, I don't know, 50 stories or something like that, with a bunch of normal businesses. And I didn't enjoy that. And the space we had was very like separate, because it was centered around the elevator shafts for the building. So it was like everyone was in a ring, and it was very funky. It didn't have the same vibes that the main studio did. So I had to do a tour over there. I stayed over there for about a year when I was working on Curse of Osiris, and then I went back over to the main building, and I felt so much better. I liked being there. Arcane Austin's office was the best I'd worked in. Each department had a sectioned off area in a pentagon-shaped building. Yeah, dude, that sounds great. But again, like, this is like a weird thing because we've advocated many times on stream. We don't ever want to have an office like that. We want to give people space and freedom, not control anyone's time. Collaborative environment can be great, but imagine being in a pod like that with someone you have beef with. That would just fucking suck. And if you're able to be remote, you can work with someone that you don't get along with and be just fine because you don't have to fucking see them all the time, right? Like, you might have a meeting with them, you have a professional conversation, move on with your lives and like keep doing your job. But if you're sitting next to them every day, I don't know. And I think it's unrealistic to expect everyone to be a happy family. It's just not going to happen. People's personalities just don't mix like that. And allowing people to have their own personal space and their own little comfort bubble is very, very good. I think for like a creative team that needs to move very fast and build shit in the way games get made. Yeah, working remote is absolutely fantastic. And it does improve communication. Who's beefing, Turning Cog? We are beefing? I hope not, bro. Yeah, Omni, you've been a remote worker for like a decade, right? My team gets so much done during the day. It's constant whiplash in a good way, and we meet once a week. Yeah, dude, that's great. That's really good. I mean, Tony and I meet like pretty much every day. Like, we're talking constantly, but we have to do so many different things. So it makes more sense to be in constant communication. But otherwise, like, Omni and Simple Sins and, when we had other people on the team contributing to different projects and all that, we would meet once a week.
I would never go back to office working.
Me too.
No way.
It's a non-starter for me. Not even close. Yeah. I wouldn't fucking do it. The crazy thing is that Sparkle has told me that she kind of misses going into the office and she wants to. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you really don't. And I remember she had to go into the office for something at some point. She was like, that sucked. I don't want to do that. I want to stay back here. Yeah, the RTO push, I do not understand, Adder. I do get that there's some people that really need that and they need to be around other human beings.
Some people need to justify their real estate investments.
Yeah. But I think, I just mean, like, think of like a producer type, someone who's very social as part of their normal workflow. They need to be around the people all the time. They need to be talking to people all the time. And I can understand that for health, but we can do that with telemeetings, telepresence, and all that. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Omni, no, Sparkle is not more social than us. I think she needs to be more social than us. But like, my ability to be isolated is, I have a much higher threshold for like going crazy than she does. But she's the same way. Like, we don't leave our house. We go to the gym and we go to the grocery store, and that's it. And then otherwise we just stay in our house all day, every day. What you building there, Tony?
A building.
Building a building.
Yep.
Yeah, what? Omni, didn't she do like a social job though? Like, I feel like she had a job where like a big part of her job was coordinating with people and like talking with people all the time. So for me, that makes sense. Those kinds of people need to be in an office. It helps them a lot. That's where like I'm ambivalent about it. I get in this tricky position of like, how do we meet those people's needs? Because those types of team members. So what I'm thinking of is like producers, community managers, marketing people, Like the social people who need to just be having conversations, like their job is dependent on just doing lots of conversing with other human beings. Like, how do you account for them in like a telepresence world where like the majority of, you know, the other contributors to projects and team members don't need that?
I've seen some companies that'll do like, you basically get two options between like a home office stipend or a co-working space.
Yeah, co-working. That's it. Thank you. I was like, there's a thing. I know what it is, but I couldn't figure out the concept. But yeah, co-working is probably the right way.
Yep.
Yeah, co-working would be sick. Get those people some laptops because they don't need super powerful machines. Get them some laptops, buy them, you know, some co-working space hours, make sure that everyone's going to the same co-working space if they're, you know, geolocated in similar areas. That's probably the right way to do it. Senior Director of Initiatives. I mean, dude, that title doesn't tell me shit about what she does, bro. I mean, I'm the Senior Director of the Twitch stream, I guess. I don't fucking know, man.
I thought you were in charge of worms.
Yeah, Senior Director of Worms. There we go. Yeah. The Worm God. That always reminds me. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Friday with Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, but after I made the Whisper, people were like, "Yo, dude, it's the Whisper guy," and I was like, "They're like, what do you know? Do you have a nickname? What do we like call you?" And I was like, "People call me Big Worm," because Big Worm from Friday. And they always thought it was fucking funny, and they didn't know because they were like too young. They hadn't seen Friday, so they didn't know it was a Friday reference. But one of my favorite interactions is I came in early to say what's up to one of the DevOps guys, and I was like, "Yo, what's happening, bro?" And he's like, "The early worm catches the bird, brother." And I was like, "Yes, dude."
I remember when you told us about Big Worm.
Yeah, Big Worm was a good time. They thought I was like making a weird dick joke, and I was like, "No, it's from Friday. Calm down, guys." Like the main drug dealer that they were all scared of was called Big Worm. And they made fun of him and called him Big Perm in Friday too, I think. Next Friday, sorry.
Next Friday.
Yeah, and then there was Friday after next. Next Friday was good. That was when they went to...
No, if I've ever seen it. Does that was the Ice Cube in it?
Yeah. And he goes out to... Craig moves to Rancho Cucamonga, I think, to live with his cousin and his uncle. I can't even say the line because there's, you know, it uses the slur for white people, but he's like, you know, Craig gets out of the car and they're like, "Oh, hey," like some, you know, goofy Rancho Cucamonga white guys come up to him and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" Like say something. And they're like, "What sports do you play?" or some shit like that, you know, one of those microaggressions. And then he's like, "I play for the Rancho Cucamonga," and then he says like the C slur killers. And they were like and he fucking like ran away, and he does his like mean Ice Cube face and like walks back into the house. It's so fucking funny. I love that movie. It had Baby Joker in it. Oh man, fucking who was the actor that played Baby Joker? Isn't he like the guy from Ant-Man and shit? Baby Joker next Friday. Actor. Oh no, it's Jacob Vargas. You can never tell because he's got the beanie on and he's wearing it like this. He's always like this. So you can't ever see his
face. You should just be like that for the rest of the stream.
I can't see you doing that, dude. She ran teams to create new ways of making money. Okay, that seems like a good job. So I would refer to that as like biz dev, you know, business development. Yeah.
All right, I can talk about some Lyra shit if you guys want.
Yeah, do it.
Let's do it. See if I can fix this fucking chat.
Mike Epps, that's his cousin. Mike Epps plays Craig's cousin in Next Friday. Day Day. Hey, Day Day, that crazy bitch out there again? She's just fucking his car up. So good. Oh, Jacob Vargas was Joker. Lobo Sebastian was Lil Joker, and Rolando Molina was Baby Joker.
Is that like Baby Gronk?
No, and I think it was like Baby Joker was the oldest one. Lil Joker was like 6'4", and Joker was like 5'3", and the youngest one. I don't know. It was weird. But they, you know, those are the antagonists. They get into some shit with those guys. Who played Day Day's girlfriend? John Witherspoon was in there. That was Ice Cube's uncle. He's great.
Is he related to Reese?
No, I think he also plays Grandpa in the Boondocks.
Oh, okay. That guy. Got it.
I think he is. Yep, he played Robert Freeman.
Is it the guy who's Ice Cube's dad in Friday?
He's his uncle.
Or uncle, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Ice Cube's dad is around in Friday or Next Friday.
I thought it was his dad, but I guess it doesn't.
I'm pretty sure it's his uncle. I could be fucking this up. It's been a while since I've seen Next Friday. Oh no, he is Craig's dad. My bad.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the story is like, you know, he got out of jail and hasn't been around much or something. They definitely kind of make it out like Craig doesn't want him to be around because he's not very nice. But
you're right, and it was his uncle was Uncle Elroy, Don Curry. That was it.
There you go.
So he moved in with Don Curry and Day Day, and then his dad shows up, and that was the central problem. And then the Jokers like caused some other issues, and he got into conflict with all of them. But he was trying to get out of the hood because the hood was dangerous. He was running from Debo. I think Debo got out again. It was something like that, and Debo comes to find him. Oh shit, bro! I could hear that coming through your mic.
Oh yeah.
Blah 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 blah. Yeah, let's get into some Lyra.
Yeah, this is just I've been trying to borrow a lot of the systems out of Lyra, so this is kind of my own custom. Lyra is like broken up into plugins. I can kind of talk about that, but this is my own plugin that uses a lot of the same systems that normal Lyra does, but like doesn't use some of the other ones. But so we have, you know, characters able to spawn in now. We have weapons. We have equipment and inventory. There's the HUD and the UI. It has a very nice menu system here that handles, you know, controller inputs and all sorts of stuff really nicely. Graphics settings, all that. I can talk about this level that I made later, but this is a lot of like AI vibe coding stuff that I've been working on. So the landscape, the roads, the buildings, which are just kind of these boxes right now. All of it is kind of from real geographic data, and I tried to really, you know, not touch the keyboard for quite a while as it was being built, and the AI kind of automated everything. So that's been pretty cool. But yeah,
Adder, no, this is Ultracranial Taurus Evolved Combat, not the Halo successor. Well, I was just trying to think of ways to say Halo Combat Evolved, but in a different way. Yeah, you know, that's different enough. I think we could pass copyright.
I think we're gonna call it Escape from Barkov.
Hey, what's up, Artificial Sky? AI game, yeah, dude, AI game. Oh my god,
it's just pure slop.
AI took the jobs of people that were not actually getting jobs anyway because we can't pay
all those
them.
people we were gonna pay. But yeah, so like I said, I have kind of made a duplication of a lot of what Lyra is doing out of the box, but just to explain it a little better, I'll go back to this is generally what you get when you just kind of set up Lyra by default from the fab or whatever. So generally, if we go into, I want to say default experience is where we are right now. Yep. So but you can go into the front end. And I actually have a version of this as well for ours, but it has to load stuff and it takes a lot longer than just like jumping right into the game. So I don't usually launch it that way. But so it's again a very nice kind of extension of that options menu system that I was showing before. And it has all the stuff that you would need for like single player and multiplayer game setup, which is pretty cool. There's ways to just kind of like edit some files under the hood to add your own things into this menu if you want to just kind of start building on what's already here and not have to duplicate things and stuff like that. So that's always nice. But if I pick one of these, just for people who have maybe never seen Lyra, or if you guys haven't been in there in a while, I want to kind of show what the default setup looks like and then kind of how you can take the pieces and how it all works together.
Artificial Sky, the people who don't want to do free work understandably would, that don't exist. So yeah, there you go. That's it. That's who it is. Those are the jobs that got taken by the AI.
So Lyra generally is a kind of like an arena deathmatch type game, like 2 teams, couple different levels, and I think there's a couple of different game modes, but they all are kind of like pretty standard multiplayer arena type things. But you have all those weapons that I was kind of showing in the demo version that I made. I believe these are portals that do function. Yeah, here's one right here. Let's see. There's like that dash move. Lots of stuff. This is all completely multiplayer ready, works online. If you compile it, you can add Steam to it, stuff like that. So there's a lot of good starting points here, I think, for especially if you're trying to make a multiplayer game, even if it's not necessarily PvP. You can kind of take this out of the box and you have something that you can kind of start building on. And Lyra is designed like Fortnite, and that's one of the reasons that it's provided as an example, is because this is kind of how Epic envisions especially AAA games should be built with Unreal. And it goes against, I guess, a lot of the traditional Unreal development approach that existed, especially up through like UE4, with the game mode and the player controller and the game instance and all of that. All of those things still exist, but you're not setting them up the same way that you used to, in my opinion, and stuff like that. So I can kind of talk about that too. But before I start getting into that, just they show the idea here of taking kind of these components that they've used to put together into the game that I was just showing you, and you can start to build other experiences with them, because they're just kind of like a series of modular pieces basically. And so this one, I believe, is supposed to be like Bomberman probably, and it's using, I want to say, these power-ups that you see on the field are kind of like the same ones that were in that death match, and it's a lot of the same base systems, but they've taken it and made it into a completely different thing here. Because it's built so modularly, I think they're kind of trying to show that that becomes a little bit easier. So yeah,
sweet.
It's Unreal Tournament 5.0. Yeah, I mean, to some extent, because they don't do Unreal Tournament anymore.
Yup.
But yeah, so there's like, I wanted to show, there's this inventory one that, is it this one? I'll find it real quick. But there's even a lot of stuff in this project that isn't necessarily exposed in the menus, isn't really talked about in the documentation so much. It's just interesting how, I don't know, like I think this inventory system they think is like kind of half baked, so they never really set it up all the way. But you can go into this level, you can see they even have systems like this. It's probably F or E or click. I don't know what the button I'm supposed to press here is. Let's see. Oh, there we go. The G. So now that's in my inventory, and I think if we press a certain button, yeah, so here's my inventory, and you can see these are the items that I picked up supposedly. And if we go and we grab another one, we open our inventory, now we have 3. And again, this is just kind of the basis for, you know, take this and make Tarkov out of it or something. Like all the pieces are kind of there to some extent if you're willing to customize and build upon them and so on. So
you don't have to use the G key turning cog. You can change it.
Yeah.
I think they just picked an arbitrary key press so that there's something there for the demo.
Yep. They were like, every game uses E and F. We should be different. But yeah, so the way all of this works that I think is pretty different is if we get our world settings out here and we look, we can see there's no game mode set on this level, which is immediately kind of different from, I think, a majority of the setups that get used. And I almost wonder, like, Adder, do you guys do more like gameplay experience type things now, or are you still kind of going with more of the traditional route? Because I could see, like, to some extent, and I see the discussion all the time, some people are just like, you don't really need to use any of those new systems and everything will be fine. And in a lot of our projects, we don't right now, but I'm starting to feel like it's probably time to learn. So yeah, Adder says traditional because it works great and everybody's been doing it for a long time and there's a lot of documentation about it. And yeah, but if you were trying to make something that was like Fortnite, for example, where Fortnite has everything from like Guitar Hero to Mario Kart to, you know, Battle Royale in it, you start to see, I guess, kind of the benefit of having all of the modular pieces. So it uses this gameplay experience system here, and I don't even think you'll see this in projects that don't have maybe the gameplay abilities system turned on or the gameplay experience system. There's a plugin that you have to enable to turn this system on. But Adder says, we don't have any major mode changes, so it's mostly just driving player states. Yeah, and so what he kind of means there is once you're playing the game, there's only one game mode, quote unquote. You're just playing the game, and it's always kind of the same stuff that's happening, and a lot more of the logic there, again, is probably driving player states and keeping track of those things in the game mode or the player state or the game state or wherever you guys are doing it. So again, the Lyra is one of those things where if you're trying to build kind of a straightforward linear single player game, I do not think that this is something that you should even spend your time looking at, aside from maybe the menu system. If you want to make like a really sophisticated AAA style menu system, I think this is a really good example, but this would probably be pretty overkill for, you know, a fairly straightforward game like Dread. We would never do something like this in Dread because it would just
it's
be completely unnecessary. We're kind of doing what Adder's saying. Like once you launch the game, you're in one single game mode. To some extent, you're in one level. Never changes. Doesn't need to change.
Yeah, modular blockout is really good turning cog.
Yeah, and what he means is in Lyra, they have their own blockout tools that are different from all the other ones that we normally use. And I can talk about those as well because they are kind of special and they do some really cool shit. Adder says, it's mostly tags, lots of binding to global events for better or worse, but it has made setting up modular systems super easy without any cross-team communication or management. Yeah, and I think, you know, the moral of the story there is modular is generally a good thing. And you know, the more forward thinking you can put into your system's design to say, you know, let's make it so if we take this out or we need to work on this separately, everything is still going to work and you're just going to have a much easier time.
I was just checking news while you were talking about that. Looks like the DICE Awards nominees were announced. DICE Awards are going to be in February. So like 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, something like that. Topping the list with 8 nominations each are Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Ghost of Yote, Arc Raiders, Dispatch, Blueprints, Death Stranding 2. Seems like those are the ones expected to kind of win. And I don't know if you guys are aware of how the DICE Awards work, but there is a panel of industry peers. So I worked with a dude who actually did voting for the DICE Awards, and he showed me like his DICE ballot and all that. And like, he was asking me questions. He's like, I don't know about this game. What do you think about this? And so we talked about a few things. Hey, yo, thank you for the follow, Liquid Air. Really appreciate that. Thanks for coming through. Yeah, lists are kind of weak again this year. I agree, Adder. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in award shows in general. You guys already know that. But like, I think the DICE Awards is probably the most legitimate one. It's like the closest to what the Oscars are or something like that, right? Like there's actually an academy. They're like people who make video games and have been making video games for a long time. So that's different than the way the Game Awards works. It's kind of unclear how the Game Awards work. So I don't know. Who knows? I don't really care. But if you guys care about that, DICE Awards are going to be in February. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still rigged, Turning Cog, but it's rigged in the way that like the people voting for who got the best are the people who make video games. Like you get a secret ballot, you know, like it's anonymous and you have to be trusted to be on the panel to vote in the first place. But it's usually people who've been in the industry for a long time and like know people and all that. Hey, yo, thanks for the question, Liquid Air. Any chance you can show the AI tooling you use for the environment buildings once you show the blockout tools, of course? Yeah, absolutely, dude. Thank you for asking.
Definitely nothing, you know, and I will definitely show it in a little more detail than this, but just like the high level summary is it's mostly just Python scripts because you can run those in the engine. If you go to tools here, you have execute Python script right here. And then I use Cursor, which is a code editor that has AI built into it that's based off of VS Code. And I can talk about that setup because I do think that is a little more involved than just ask the AI to do the thing. But ultimately, what ended up happening is I had Cursor write me some Python scripts that used some map APIs to pull that data and get it into Unreal. So I can talk about that. But Adder says the board is quite large and it is a whole ordeal to be added to the boards. You have a wide range of opinionated votes to balance the scales.
Yeah, the DICE Awards is voted on by the sorry, let me find it. Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. That's who does the DICE Awards. So it's almost like the, you know, Academy of Cinema or whatever the fuck it's called for the Oscars. But video game specific, yeah. And like I was saying, you know, I knew one guy who like had it and he's like, hey, check this out, I'm special. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. Do you even play these games? Do you know anything about them? And he's like, nope. So even then I influence, you know, one person's votes, but he asked me to. Liquid Air says, nice. I use Cursor for my day job for boring software engineering. Nah, dude, software engineering isn't boring. Don't talk down about it like that. You're good, man.
Yeah, so just a quick run through of kind of how I've been doing this with some better and some worse results, just depending on what I'm trying to do. But in Cursor here, I have, if you make a Cursor agent, one of the modes that it has is planning. So I started this project by initially making a Lyra Unreal Engine project, because that's kind of what I was building here. And then immediately opening up that folder in Cursor. So you can see this is my Unreal Engine project here. Here's the source folder. Here's the content folder. There's the U project file. And I started planning and talking about what my goals were for this. And like to some extent, it was like, I want to learn Lyra. I want to learn the gameplay ability system. And to do that, I want to try to make kind of like an open world Escape from Tarkov clone. That was the goal. And from there, it helped me write up a plan, and it keeps it in this .cursor folder. And the important part about this is that gets pushed into source control. And as I move between computers, cursor doesn't have context around what has happened on the other computers, but if you keep it in your source control, then it will know when you move around. But ultimately, it kind of, I also told it that my goal was for it to drive as much as possible and for me not to have to do as much as possible. So that was part of the plan, and it basically is set to always reference the plan whenever I talk to it about anything. And it also has kind of like some default instructions that say to update the plan as we do things, just so that it, again, can always be aware of what's going on. And it kind of keeps this checklist always going. And I can just kind of like tell it like, hey, add a thing to the to-do list that I decided that I want to do later. And that's kind of how I've been organizing it on a high level. And then from there, after the plan's set, generally with an AI, you want to try to keep your chats as single topic and as focused as possible. So kind of once I was happy with the plan there, we're going to start a new chat and we're going to pick a topic and we're going to start doing something. And so to start with the landscape that I made here, I basically went on Google Maps and I drew a square around an area that I wanted to pull the data for. And I got the GPS coordinates of the corners of that square. So if we're looking at, I'll just get a Google Maps window here.
Oh, Turning Cog said, oh, like Mensa or similar orgs about the DICE Awards. Turning Cog out here mentioning Mensa again so that we don't forget that he attended a Mensa event. Also, working title, we have Tarkov at home. Working title is actually Railgun.
Yeah. But so you could go on Google Maps and, you know, if we wanted Longmont here, for example, you can right click on Google Maps anywhere and it'll give you these coordinates. And if you click on them, it copies them to your clipboard. So you need to get a square. And once you have your square, I basically went to the AI and I was like, I want you to pull the terrain height map data for the square in such a way that I can import it as a height map in a landscape in Unreal Engine. And it did that. And then I just use the normal landscape system, of course, to import this. The landscape material here is from, gotta remind myself, CG Dealers, Patreon. Been a patron of theirs for a long time, but he also made the landscape material that the one in Hyperskate was originally based off of. And this is his like V2 version. And I just grabbed it so that it would have something that looked pretty decent. So, you know, it has the grass and the snow and the rocks and stuff. And I definitely need to fiddle with it because it looks very stripy and repetitive right now, but looking good enough for my needs. But so once that was done, I'll probably show you what that height map file looks like at least. So the AI made this tools folder in my project, and you can see there's a lot of different like Python things and JSON stuff in here. So this is where a lot of that stuff that I end up running in the engine will live after the AI will ultimately generate it. So for the landscape, it was just a height map file. It's not Python code or anything like that. So I want to say, I'm not positive that I have the height map file in this folder right now, but I did at one point ask it to like pull me an overlay of the actual color data of the map so I could try to like lay it on top, and it didn't work, but similar result here. So and then for the roads, it was the same thing. At that point in our plan, it knew the box for the landscape, and I was able to just kind of start a new chat and say, okay, well, I'm interested in pulling all the roads. And we definitely had to do a little bit of processing and fiddling because there's obviously so many roads inside of this map. If we turn them on, I will show you because I can just talk while it's loading, but there's so many here. And so I think it filtered down, you know, the smallest, tiniest roads. And then it did some stuff where when it pulls the roads, like every lane on a road was a separate spline. And so it did some like merging, and we had to, it would come in as a flat plane. So we had to project everything on the landscape. A lot of back and forth. And ultimately you'll see kind of what we ended up with here. But this one, I believe, just came through like a Python script where it reached out to Mapbox's API and got all the road data, and then within the Python script, I believe it's just creating the roads themselves. I can try to pull that one here. Let's see. So here's the import roads to Unreal script, and it doesn't have like an API key in it, but yeah, I don't even know what this says. I didn't write this because this was an exercise in seeing how far I could go vibe coding pretty much. But yeah, a lot of it is like I tell the AI I want to do this, and it says, okay, I wrote this Python script, go run it in Unreal, and then I do it, and sometimes I go, no, it didn't work right, and it goes, okay, let me try again. This is still going. The other part of this that I haven't really talked about yet, and that I'm still not entirely sure about, is that there's a thing called an MCP server that you can hook Cursor up to that works with Unreal, and I've tried 2 or 3 different ones now, and I've been pretty unimpressed with their abilities as far as what they're actually able to do. But basically what it looks like is in Cursor, there's this tools and MCP thing here, and I'm on my new computer, so I don't have this one set up yet, but you can add basically tools that allow Cursor to automatically control different things, and one of those things is Unreal Engine. I don't think this is the one that I actually used, but this would be an example of one, and it's supposed to give Cursor the ability to kind of control Unreal through a series of APIs. It can make files, it can rename files, it can delete files, it can add stuff to the level at a set of coordinates to some extent, but I don't know. It never really worked super well for me, and it was never able to do too much beyond everything that I just said. So it's not writing blueprints for you. It's not really doing anything too helpful at the end of the day. So I haven't really been leaning on this too hard, but I think this is probably something that will hopefully get better. As I'm moving forward now beyond some of the world generation stuff that we've been talking about, which, you know, doesn't really involve a lot of code, I'm really just kind of trying to like do as much in C++ as possible, because the AI can write C++ and it can try to compile it, and it can see if there's an error, and it can just sit there and get it going until it works right pretty much every time. And that's working pretty good, but still, you know, again, just trying to see what I can do with this and where I can go with it and what it ultimately is capable of. And I, as you can see, probably have had the best luck with kind of this like world generation stuff here. Yeah, so you can see here's all the roads, and they're pretty correct. And all the buildings was another one. I can turn some buildings on, but yeah, you can see the roads look great. They're all projected onto the ground and go up into the mountains and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, they're definitely pretty janky, but the data is there to build something on top of, which is cool.
I've got Liquid Air's still here. You said boring corporate software engineering. Nah, don't think about it like that, man. If you've never made games, it's hard to be like, you know, making games seems like really glamorous, but if you have a corporate software job, that's a great fucking job, man. Probably getting paid well. You can separate work-life balance. It doesn't really work that way in the games industry. But then he asks, what models are you using? Are you switching depending on what you're doing?
I definitely will try to use Claude and whatever the most modern one is as much as possible, but you burn through your like credits fairly quickly if you use Claude, and so try to leave it on auto as much as possible. Works a lot better when it's not on auto here, and then yeah, I usually use like, I think it's usually Sonnet that I'm using, not Opus necessarily, but again, it's on auto more often than not. Yeah. And there's a lot of other ways to kind of do similar things to what I'm doing here. Like there's Claude code that will run in a terminal and can do a lot of things. Yeah, I don't know. You could link a lot of like a 3D model generator together with something like this to, you know, start creating assets and getting in there. And then you have the C++ code generation, and it can be involved in a lot of different parts now.
I found another article. The devs of Phasmophobia are launching a publishing label called Kinetic Publishing, with a specific line stating, "We will not provide any funding or advice to games made with blockchain, Web3, or those made with generative AI." So I'll reach out to them and see what they think. But yeah, we'll see how
I
that
saw
goes.
somebody the other day like question, because like you're supposed to disclose to Steam if you use AI in your game, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, I know this almost sounds like facetious and stuff, but they're like, I was kind of thinking about this, wondering, they're like, I open cursor and am typing the code, and then I hit tab on an autocomplete suggestion. It does my game use AI now, and I have to tell Steam that? Like, I don't know. It's just like a crazy gray area now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and the other one was like, if I ask Claude on the web chat a question about code because I can't figure out how to do something, and it gives me the answer and it works, like, is my game built with AI now? Like, do I have to disclose that? And, kind of valid questions.
One thing, so for some of you guys,
I thought like that one is the one that everybody's mad about right now. Is like one texture file in Expedition 33 didn't get replaced, and people are losing their minds. So like that one's a pretty clear answer. It's more like the LLM stuff, I think, is starting to maybe be a gray area.
I think you're fine, Brightside. I would just, worry about it if it becomes a problem, and it's easy enough to just pull that out and change it to something else if you really have to. But so for some of you guys who are indie devs, it might be good to reach out to Kinetic Publishing. I'm gonna throw the website URL into Discord. Liquid Air, if you want to keep in touch with us, we only stream about 4 hours a week. So Discord's gonna be the best way to get in touch with us. We're game developers. That's our focus. Thank you, Turning Cog. Turning Cog, do the link tree too. It's just bang link tree. But yeah, if you want to see the stuff that we're working on, we stream Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays are 10 a.m. to noon Mountain Time, and Thursdays are 2 to 4 Mountain Time. So we're about a half hour away from ending stream. But the whole goal of the stream is to, like, this is how we crowdfund the business. Because of you guys in our lovely community, we were able to cover operations costs. We talked about some of that yesterday with web server hosting and Perforce hosting on the web using DigitalOcean and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that, instead of it just coming directly out of our pockets, you guys are letting us continue to do this by donating subs, whatever. Any of that stuff goes directly to that. So anyway, if you guys are still seeking publishing, it might be good to reach out to these guys. They say they've got a focus on indies, and that's kind of the big thing they're into. They did say they have no one signed up yet, and they're just getting started. And they added to their team, let me find this guy's name, Asim Tanvir, previously worked at 2K, Konami, and Deep Silver. He's the director of marketing and partnerships. So if you do reach out to them, you probably want to try to find contact info for Asim or Asim. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm messing your name up. But yeah, it seems like the statement that they made about like generative AI and all that stuff is, my assumption is that what they don't want to do is appeal to entities or organizations that are trying to make very cheap, fast games that are, like AI slop or corpo slop. Like that's not what they want to do, but they want to focus on small indies. And their statement was, they want cozy games, RPGs, all the good stuff out there, not trying to pigeonhole or box themselves in. So it seems like they're like, hey, we're doing a thing. Nobody knows about us. Come talk to us. So I'm going to reach out to them. I'll let you guys know how that goes. Yeah, maybe we can have a good conversation. And if you guys need funding too, and you're looking for that stuff, you should reach out to them. See if they can help you out. They also offer scale and growth consultation, spending consultation. They're doing the thing where, like, they made a big game that made them a lot of money, and they're trying to figure out how to help other people make new stuff. So they want to get into that publisher space. That's not something I ever want to do. I like making stuff. I like being creative. But I want to offer, like, my knowledge and experience. So that's why we do this. Yeah, so check them out. Thank you, Turning Cog, for dropping that link tree. Liquid Air. I missed the thing that you said, so I want to read that. Yeah, that's been the hard thing I've had trouble with. I've tried playing around with using AI tools in game dev, but helping with editor setup or asset generation is tough. If you have questions about editor setup, we can help you with that. So best way is just ask in Discord. We say it pretty much every week. Like, if you guys need help, ask us.
I think the biggest things that I kind of learned through the process so far are just like, that there are still definitely a lot of limitations, and that, I want to try Blender MCP out next. I've heard decent things about that, but just in terms of, I don't know. I don't think MCP for generating a complicated 3D model is necessarily going to be the right way that it happens. So I don't know, but for things like planning, for things like research, for things like organization, for I don't know, stuff like that, I'm finding that it's pretty good. Like, I'm running into this error. I can't figure out what the problem is. I have it set up now where it can just like look at the logs without me having to give it to it, and it can just like look at the text file in my directory. And so for stuff like that, and it'll go in and adjust things and recompile it for me and things like that. So it's just, I think it's about figuring out how to use it, and less about like assuming that it can do literally everything and you just got to get it to. But that goes for any tool.
Since I was talking about the Kinetic Publishing, they do financial support funding, financial support advisory, so they can help you budget and create a business plan and all that, so that you can seek funding if they're not going to be able to fund you or they're not into that. Operational studio support, so they help you like structure your team to scale and your business model and all that. Marketing support, they do advisory there as well. Product support, like how to build stuff and like how to organize your business and pipelines. They do PR and marketing in that regard, and dev support. So it seems like they just really want to help people, and they have probably a lot of resources and they don't know how to allocate them, and they want to just grow into that space. So it could be very cool. I'll try to let you guys know what's going on with them if I even hear back from them. So I just found out about this, so we'll see what they think. They have a team of about 40 people. They're based in the UK. Indie studio. That's Kinetic Games that made Phasmophobia. Yeah, that's their whole thing. I posted it in Discord under Game Dev, General Game Dev. So have a look-see, guys. It never hurts to ask. A part of the thing when you're trying to build a studio or like start a project, you need help. You can't do it alone. There are examples, and people point to like, look at the guy that made Stardew. Don't do that. There's a billion people like that.
Let's list the other games that guy has made. Yeah,
there's a billion people like that who have zero success and struggle, and that's it. So get help. Hang out with us. We will help you as much as we can. But we have limitations. We don't have funding or any of that. So if we did get funding, especially from like Kinetic, that could help a lot. And typically, when you're in these kinds of conversations, you don't have a single partnership. To get a single partnership with a huge budget, you're going to be, approaching AAA at that point. And what that means is just the size of the budget and the size of the team building project. And that's where you get like an exclusive, like, this is our publisher. It's this one thing, and they're giving us, hundreds of millions of dollars to build this thing. So, we've talked about like Firewalk Studios and Concord, like that's what they did. And their publisher was Sony. So Sony's got a lot of money. They could afford to, give money to a project. Granted, that's a big loss, hundreds of millions in a game that shut down 2 weeks after it launched. So yeah, that was a bad business deal for them. For us smaller guys, you're probably looking at, if you're a solo dev and your game is really small in scope, you might be able to get that done it really is. So this is the hard part. You might be able to get your game done and shipped solo if you're an experienced developer. So let's take like Megabonk as an example. he realistically probably spent 6 months to a year and a half building that game from the ground up. He might have started with a bunch of shit because he, revealed that he was actually employed and has been working in the industry for like 10 years or something like that.
I think he's just made other indie games before. But
yeah, and that dude has a lot of experience. So even then, there's no way it took him 6 months to make that game, right? It probably took him several months, maybe a year. That guy is probably going to need funding of like $250,000 to $500,000 to make sure that he can pay for everything he needs to finish that game out. If he's doing all the work himself, it's going to take way longer. So he could probably condense that time to a 6-month period and then release a game like Megabonk. Who knows? I don't know the scope of all the things or what his skill sets are. So getting help will make it so that you can build the thing you're trying to build a lot. Like it matters a ton. So reach out, talk to some people, always ask for help. There's this kind of a weird mentality, I think, especially among game devs, where people want to be like, I did this myself. And it doesn't mean anything, nobody cares that you did it yourself. They care about what you made at the end of the day. So if you make something good, if you did it with one person or like 40 or 300 people, all they care about is what the game is in the first place. So don't get caught up in what, people on the internet and Reddit and shit are saying about anything that you make. It's good to have people talking about your stuff anyway. That means you have a lot of reach and that people are aware. That's one of the biggest problems, especially for us smaller guys, is do people even know who the fuck you are and what you did? So, or like, it's not even that. It's not about you or what you did. It's about the thing you made. Are they even aware that the thing exists? We were talking about, what was that article that said like Steam it was like 48% of all Steam games released last year have less than 1 review or something like that, less than 10 reviews. I think
it's higher than 48. It's like,
yeah, it's some crazy amount. The reason why that matters, the takeaway, the information that's important in that statement is that, half or more of the audience of people who use Steam, which is a massive platform, aren't even aware of these games that came out in 2025. They just don't even know they exist. So that's why marketing is important. You can do it all through social media. It's significantly better if you have someone dedicated to doing that one job, because then you can focus on making the game. That's much more important. Reddit is just 4chan for the average Joe. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think they're both different sides of the same bad coin. I don't know. Social media is bad. It's a very powerful tool. It's useful. You need it for marketing, especially if you're running a business. But if you're just like endeavoring to become an influencer, I don't know, man. That's not like a good contribution to society. Kind of against that. So live your life, do whatever you want to do. If you want to do it, cool. I guess I don't respect it.
Do whatever you want. I just don't respect you.
Yeah, I mean, but who cares? Who cares if I respect you? Like, I'm just a fucking guy. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't respect what you do for a living, so that means nothing. Like it doesn't matter. It's legitimate. People make a ton of money. But my issue with it is that the most prominent content creators on social media deal in outrage and controversy, or reaction to outrage or controversy. And it's not good for anybody. It's like not healthy, and I don't know. Bad for your brain, bad for your heart, bad for your soul, whatever you want to say. Just go out and make stuff. Spend your time doing that. Make something that matters to people, right? Like that's more important. So this is the Lyra blockout tool, Tony?
No, right now I'm just using modeling tools. I was trying to look at it earlier. Let me get out of this. Let's see.
I gotta have a wee. Be right back.
Okay. Come on, bro. There we go. Turning Cog, do you know if there's a good area that shows their blockout stuff off? I've definitely looked at it before, but I just don't even know anymore. I don't think I've ever done this firing range one before. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can. I'm just gonna load some of their floors and walls in here, I guess. Okay, so that's just a scaled cube. What's up, Sushi? Oh shit, thanks for the raid, dude. In that dev mode grind, what are you deving on? I just use the folder and use them in the level. Are you talking about this folder? Sushi Fu rated us once.
Welcome, Sushi Fu and Foos. I don't know what you call your community.
The Fu gang.
Foo Fighters?
So you Turning Cog, you're talking about this tools folder here? Nostromo scene, very nice, very nice.
Nice, dude.
I was trying to use this, and okay, so this one has a handle. Yeah, Vince, so you can see in Lyra we got this tools folder, and I mean this one looks pretty similar to like blockout tools stairs.
Yeah.
But then they have like,
oh, that's nice. That's
the one
nice.
The one I remember is that you can take like two of them and like effectively like real-time boolean one with the other. You can say like this cube is booleaned by this one, and you can't see the second one, but you can like move it and like cut a window or something, and it
Nice.
just like you know, something that our blockout tools can't really do.
Yeah.
I can't remember how. Do you know how to do that one, Turning Cog? Is it this window door thing? Oh yeah, so I guess this is technically kind of it. So this one has a handle, and you can see I can move this hole around and like scale it and stuff, and like adjust where the cut is. And then
Well,
there's like,
Liquid Air was asking, would you do all this in the editor? I mean, there's a million ways to do anything in making video games. This is a way. You can model in Unreal, but
I mean, yeah, if you were watching what I was doing kind of while we
Under.
were chatting, like I do as much modeling in Unreal as possible. I've gotten to a point where I would probably almost prefer to do it in Blender, but I don't like the back and forth. That's what annoys me. And like I've gotten good enough at doing things in Unreal that I don't mind it too much, but I do know like kind of how to do things better in Blender now. So
Unreal modeling is probably more beneficial for blackout. If you need to make something for blackout purposes that you can't do with your blackout tool set, that's when you would probably want to use it. I will also clarify that none of these blackout things are probably shippable. You could do it, but they're gonna not be super great.
well, the cool thing with these Lyra ones that, again, like ours doesn't really do is if I go into the details panel here, one of the things you can get to is there's like mesh.
Turning Cog, why are you masquerading as a Sushi Fu Raider? You were here at the start of the stream.
Yeah, so there's a big thing. I'm maybe not in the right spot here, but basically there's a button in here where you hit it and it makes it into a mesh, and then it's like game ready, and you can kind of take that and go and do whatever you need to with it, which is pretty cool. I was going to show them good old blockout tools too, though, because I think they're actually worth knowing.
Oh, I see how it is. You're not dedicated to us turning cog. Nah, it's okay. I'm just playing. I'm glad that you hang out with Sushi Fu too. I mean, you hang out with everybody, so I'm just glad that you're here with us.
If you guys don't have this one probably is worth the money in my opinion, just depending on what you're trying to do. But we use it all the time, and
nice.
It works very similarly. It's like this staircase, for example. It has primitives for a cube and a tube and a cylinder and a cone. And they all kind of have just like a handle on here that makes it really easy to just kind of like put them in a level and start sizing them the way that you want to. You can add materials to them. Their materials are fairly customizable. You can turn them into static meshes through using, you go to merge actors. That's generally how I have to do it with blockout tools, which is a little annoying, but
Liquid Air asked, so the blackout is just prototyping, then you bake it. So there's
I can I'll throw blackout tools in here real quick so that you guys can see it. I just don't have it turned on right now.
Yeah, yes and no, Liquid Air. So blockout is a phase of development that is design centric. It's done by design. And the reason I clarify is because before you get into finalizing an environment and making like this really pretty thing with like trees and bushes and little decorators and greebles and all that other stuff, you need the form of the gameplay to be there. So there's, I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of the interesting things conceptually that I learned was that geometry is gameplay. So it's not just art. The way the player interacts with the virtual thing that you've created, the shape of all that space that they're moving through matters a lot. It affects how the player interacts with your game. So to get all those pieces feeling right and having some really good interplay and moments like that before you do the good art that makes it look really pretty, that's blockout. So you do all your gameplay and prototyping in blockout when you're like, this feels good. I know I need to have a ramp here. I've got walls over here on the sides, like all these other pieces. When that is solid, that's when you start putting in the art. That's when you start replacing the blockout with actual art. Yeah, exactly. Placeholder assets. But it helps you know the shape and the flow. So like it'll help you get what the correct size is for a hallway, the correct size for a door, a window. So imagine you're making a shooter and you want a player to be able to like look out a window and get a line of sight on something. When you use blockout tools, you can like lock all that gameplay in based on the shape of the environment before you make that window a sci-fi window or, you know, a decrepit building in like a post-apocalyptic world, whatever, or like an ancient ruin in a jungle. You know, all of that starts with these shapes with blockout.
Yeah. So if you see I put the blockout tools plugin in here, I want to say it's maybe like $20. Might go on sale for even less sometimes. If you've been collecting free marketplace assets for a long time, I think it even was free at one point, so you might have it. But it gives you item in the menu here, which is really nice. And then you have tons of different options, like, you know, even railing and stuff. But all of these tend to have this handle on them, so I can take it and I can just kind of start scaling it exactly the way that I need to. And then if you start digging into the details panel, you'll also have stuff like the thickness of each of the dimensions, and as well as the size, and you can round the numbers. You can change the material from a custom material to this default grid material that they have, and this grid is like procedural, so as you move stuff around, you'll see the grid is adjusting. It's not getting messed up or anything like that. I can change the color of it. It has like different top size. It can be world aligned. You can adjust the roughness and the luminance of it, or you can just put your own material on these things too instantly. And there are blueprints, but again, there's a way to make them into normal meshes like we were talking about, and we use this all the time. So like, you know, everything from like this basic cube just for making walls. You got The cone doesn't really have a handle on it, but if we go into the properties here, we can adjust the radius and the height very easily, and change the quality, which I believe is going to make it more round.
I thought of another way to explain it. If you guys are familiar with the process of illustration, you do an underdrawing first that's kind of a gesture sketch, and that becomes a transparent layer. And then you do your, like, if you're using a light box and you're using traditional media, you would like have your drawing and then you put another piece of paper over and you like solidify your lines, get your form more correct. So that's for like establishing your composition of your scene. Then when you have that second drawing, then you would put on another piece, do a much lighter drawing, and then start inking, and that's how you can get an image. So that's when you like ink and paint and do all that. So there's like several steps to it. Blockout is like doing the underdrawing. So when an artist will typically go make art over blockout, they'll have the blockout meshes, and then they will put their own meshes over the top and then remove the blockout and then export that, and put it back into the project. And then you have your lovely level that looks beautiful. And then lighting gets in there and starts lighting everything and making it pop and, accentuating the right parts of the environment and all that. Yeah, it's a iterative process, but that works the best because then design can determine the flow of the space and how all that works really well. Yeah, and that's a high level view of how that process works, that pipeline.
Yeah. And then of course, like you guys were watching me do all of that. That tool is great. If you don't want to buy it though, and arguably the thing that I try to do more now is if you just go into modeling mode in the editor, if you've never used this, it can do kind of a lot of the same things. It's not as user friendly, but you're going to be generating a unique mesh for each thing that you make, and they're actual meshes, so that you could take them to Blender, you could edit them here, you can do normal mesh things to them. These are blueprints. They require a little bit of more processing and stuff like that. But so you can see in this create menu, you have a lot of those same things, and you're able to pick box and put that in here, and you can position it, and then you have the ability to set the size and all of that stuff over here. You can put a material on it, and then if I hit accept and create this, now this is actually a mesh in my file system here that I can drop into levels and whatnot. And this right here is not. This is just a blueprint right now.
Liquid Air said, yeah, that's nice. When I played around with building things before in Unreal, I created all the blockout objects with base walls and doorways in Blender and then imported, but you can't realize and resize them like this if you need to. Yeah, so the pipeline you described, Liquid Air, you're skipping that step. You want to do this first step because you can be very loose with all these forms, and then like what is playing correctly. And then you've got all that to work from, and then you build the pretty shit off the top of that, and that's the best way to go.
And you can take all of this too and just export it as a mesh, put it in Blender, and then do what he's saying, start building right on top of it. So
exactly, Liquid Air. Then you know what to build. One of the things that might be confusing for you guys that have been following our Dread development, we don't have an art champion, so we don't have people necessarily making art that will fit with a blockout. We're doing it as an asset flip. So our blockout is actually the assets that we're going to ship, which is weird. It's not really the right way to do it, but we're trying to go quickly. We're trying to keep scope tight. We're working with what we've got. So that's not an accurate representation of how it would work from the ground up if you had a dedicated art team that was doing that stuff and building those assets.
I mean, a lot of it was a cube at some point, and then
totally.
Very quickly it was not. So yeah.
So I mean to say, like, we're shortcutting the process. Don't necessarily do it the way we're doing. We're leaning on experience and like wisdom from doing things over time. So like, it's different. It was rough when I did it that way, as I didn't know what size or what needed. Yeah, exactly. And you save yourself all that headache. Get yourself some of these blockout tools. You could just get the Lyra thing and use the Lyra blockout tools, and that would be fine. You could also pay for that plugin that we were talking about. I like it a lot. But yeah, there's a million ways to do it. But get yourself a set of.
Were you making the functionality from that plugin is actually not very difficult either.
No.
And I've started to do it in some of our projects just so people don't have to buy the plugin. And it's, if you make a vector variable in a blueprint and you do expose on spawn, then I think there's one other checkbox that you have to do, and it'll give you that handle in the editor to set where the location of that thing is, and then you can start to do different transforms based on it and stuff like that.
So the Unreal blocks that make meshes don't work the same way. They're not as nice, and it's difficult to measure with them. One of the advantages of the blockout tool was that grid material that Tony was showing that scales appropriately. It doesn't do that in Unreal by default. Like he was saying, you have to build like a blueprint that does it that way. Yep. So yeah, you can do that, but you still have extra steps. If you're just using a pure blockout tool, like a blockout tools plugin, it's saving you a ton of time.
And to Vince's point, they're for blocking things out. They're not for making hyper detailed models. They are amazing for moving really quickly and being able to make adjustments without having to fiddle with everything constantly all the time. And yeah, it's just one of those things where if Vince has an idea, like he can just open a level and start doing blockout tools, and we'll figure out what to do with it later. You know, we'll convert it to a mesh and take it over to Blender or what have you. But it's really just about speed and kind of like workflow and ease of use. I've gotten pretty good at the modeling tools over time, and you kind of see me sitting here and just kind of messing around while we've been talking and working on this building thing. But it's taken me a while to get there, and it's definitely not as quick as modeling tools would be. I'm trying to get better at, or blockout tools would be, but I'm trying to get better at modeling. That's another reason. Yeah, and that's why I'm not doing Blender. Again, it's just kind of in the name of speed, and you know, I don't know, I can't visualize anything in the level when I'm working in Blender. I like this workflow that I have going on right now where I'm in this world partition level, but this is in a sub level, and I can't actually edit it until I go in and do this. Then it makes everything gray except for the part that I'm editing. So I can still kind of work modularly, but I can see it in the scope of everything. And yeah. There is a plugin for Blender. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it gives you one-to-one viewport controls with Unreal, and that's really helpful so that you don't have to like break your brain every time you switch back and forth.
Yeah, and turning cog, there's a variety of skill levels for environment artists that I've worked with. Some like really don't know how to do anything in the engine, but they're really, really good at the modeling tools. So then they need a little bit of help from like tech design to get their stuff like in the right position. So like there's a bunch of ways to do it, but for, you know, smaller guys like us, you've got to do both of the things. So you got to do a little bit of the Blender, you got to do a little bit of the you know, engine work. Like it's just the way it goes. Everyone's got to wear a bunch of hats. As you get into a bigger team with AAA and stuff like that, like higher budgets, bigger teams, there are people who are like very focused on the thing that they do. Blender has different controls. Yep. If I need to follow a tutorial, I left it all default.
I think I had the same realization where I wanted to change it, and then it was like, now I don't know what they're saying when I'm following the tutorial. So I feel that.
Yeah, and I agree, Turning Cog, that it's a huge mindset change. 3D modeling is a different skill entirely. It's like it's something you develop over a career, right? Like you would be very focused on that to become a very good modeler, like, and become a very good like spatial designer. They're not necessarily synergistic things. They can be. It's really complicated, and it's just a lot to tackle. If you're like, I'm going to build a whole game by myself, just take a second and realize that there are people who've dedicated, you know, a decade or more to being really good at this one thing that you would be like, well, I'm starting now. It benefits you to have that person on your team helping you. So just consider that. It's generally better to have a team of people who are good at different things, and they can, you know, cover weak spots that a different team member has. Let's see. Do I have anything else here on the news? Switch 2 sales went down over Christmas, 35% compared to the Switch 1 launch. All right. Mario Tennis Fever will have the most playable characters in series history. All right.
Same response.
Yeah. Oh, we have info on the new Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con colors. They're coming out next month. I don't even have a Switch 2, so I don't care. This looks kind of dramatic. All right. Fired Rockstar Games game devs fight for payroll relief at an employment tribunal hearing. That's crazy. So this is about the layoffs in UK and Canada. Stating that they were let go due to gross misconduct. Looks like these guys are pushing a lawsuit to, like wrongful termination as like a class action is my guess. So they're trying to get compensation for being let go wrongfully. I don't know if I like this topic. This is wacky. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of there. Don't like it. Let's see. What else do we have here? Whoa, what is this? Okay, Kojima Productions reveals its most ambitious collaboration yet. A Yoji Shinkawa gaming tablet. So Kojima Studios has designed its own Asus portable PC and accessories online. Accessories line. Yeah, I'm assuming they didn't do the hardware design. They did like industrial and like, so like product look and feel. I like this. The artist said in a statement, I wanted to create a gadget that belongs to Ludens, and I integrated that into this PC design. If you guys haven't played Death Stranding, Ludens is like a brand, the fictional brand that exists in Death Stranding. Parts and designs are inspired by Ludens and has its essence. That's cool. That's going to be neat. I don't think I'll ever buy that, but that's neat. I got like a cool headset with the Kojima Productions Knight looking guy on it. I like that. Yeah, it looks like all this kit would like belong in Death Stranding. That's cool. Oh, I like this. Okay. Blizzard's supposedly going to reveal a StarCraft shooter from the former Far Cry boss later this year. So StarCraft Ghost lives again? I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, let me see. When was StarCraft Ghost?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with like 2002 or 3, probably.
Yep, 2002. You got it. It was announced in 2002.
Yep.
So 20 years later, they're talking about making this game again, maybe?
I have some weird, vivid memory of watching the StarCraft Ghost trailer on a TV at GameStop.
Let's see. Oh, sorry, Liquid Air. I want to catch up. I can do coding all day, but doing the creative part is hard. Yeah, exactly. Get someone who is creative that can help you, and then you can help them because they probably can't do the coding. Switching topics, why, in your opinion, is the gaming industry so bad and always having layoffs? So we've talked about this a ton on stream. I haven't been in the industry, but the outside perspective is crazy. So the best way to think about it is that this isn't anything new. When you're building a video game, it's like gig working. And what I mean by that is not gig economy. I mean, like you're making a movie or doing a live production of a show or something like that. So when the thing is done, depending on your expertise and your contribution to the project, you may not be needed anymore. So that's just a normal part of it. In the games industry, there are a lot of contract positions that don't have permanent hire spots. It just works that way because you have to consider before the project starts, there's nothing there. They have a core team building this concept idea that's going to secure them funding to develop it over a series of years. As they get that funding, they start building the team and building the project bigger. So it kind of reaches this bell curve. And then as it gets closer to launch, they have to start removing staff and operations costs to ship the game. And then they keep a core team to start again and do another prototype project. But yeah, Adder's not wrong. It's crazy internally too. So the healthiest way to function as a game developer when you're an individual and you're trying to make a career out of this is to keep looking for new jobs. Adder's talked about it a bunch himself. He changes jobs every 2 to 3 years. That's really normal. But expecting to be at the same game studio for like 10, 15 years and like get a pension or something like that, that's just not a reality that exists. It might change in the future, it might become a new thing, but you always have to consider that is like a lot of the people in the discourse online are contract positions, not with a prospect to hire. And I think it's disappointing, especially for a lot of young people in the games industry. You don't really start making games unless you're very, very passionate about just creating stuff and making games specifically, so they can be preyed upon a little bit because they don't have a lot of experience working as a professional. And so they have this expectation, well, I got hired, it's a contract position, but that means that I will eventually get hired full-time and get full benefits. The likelihood of that is very, very low in most cases. Once you get established and you have a bunch of stuff on your resume that says, I shipped this title, I did this, here are my contributions, you can talk about the work you do, then you go from a contract position at entry level to getting hired into like a junior position that is more permanent. And then you go from there into like senior positions, and then you change companies. You got hired as a senior, you got hired as a lead, you get hired as a director, and you're moving around to different studios. It's very normal for people who've been in this industry for more than 3 to 5 years to have done that and worked at several different studios. The thing that I've seen the most is that newer people to the industry burn out in about 3 years, and they may never want to come back, and they'll go get a job like in, the way you described it, as a boring corporate software job. The reason I was saying don't deride that or be negative about it is because that kind of a job is a lot more stable. That's not a gig worker business. That person working in that field, like yourself, you have some degree of job stability that just doesn't exist in the games industry. Funding is really fickle. The way these projects get built, it's not, there's no guarantees of success. We can literally look at Concord as an example. Sony spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that studio. They were in development for like 6 to 7 years, and then the game flopped on release and everybody lost their jobs. So that's not like a layoff thing. That's just the way it goes. And the games industry experienced a really big boom in the COVID times because games were doing really, really well. A lot of people who didn't play games were finding that games were a great way to spend time during the pandemic and, escape from the reality that like everyone's locked inside and it's dangerous out in the world. So there's a lot of extra funding that was going into it because, business analysts and, investors and all that were watching that this vertical was growing rapidly. So they put a bunch of money in. We've now hit post-COVID austerity and everyone's tightening the belts. That's why over the last 2 years, you saw, something like 60 to 80,000 people lost jobs. It's because the investors were pulling out. They're more into AI and like blockchain and Web3 and all that other stuff, right? They're into different technologies because they don't see the potential for such large returns in the game industry as they did around 2020. So the industry as a whole is tightening up. That's only compounded by massive failures like Concord. Like hundreds of millions in a loss is crazy. That's bad for the books. That could be the end of a lot of companies. Sony is a massive business, so they can actually survive a loss like that. But there's not a lot of companies that can. So when you consider all of that, the highest operations costs that come from running a business are employee payroll. It just is. So you then start to audit your books and be like, well, we have 30 designers. We can function at a very basic level and keep our operations costs lower with 10 designers. Now, 20 of those designers lose jobs. That works the same way for artists. You could be like, we only need these 3 lighting artists instead of these 12 that we have. And so then all those people lose their jobs. That's just the way it goes. And it's just because of the nature of the games industry being so volatile and, unclear about whether or not a game is going to be a hit. There's so many different factors that go into it and whether or not a company is going to make money off of, producing a game and putting it out there. Entertainment software is not necessary. Your corporate software job, if it's for like an insurance company or a banking company or, a medical company, those are necessities. People will always need those things, so there's a lot more security in that. I mean, if you have a government job and you're doing, government program stuff, that's also a lot more secure too. Despite, some volatility in the current administration and stuff like that in the United States, those tend to be more stable jobs as well. They're not going to pay as well. Private sector is generally better than, a government contracted job, but there can also be a lot of money in that. So there's a ton of nuance that I'm sure as a working professional, who's been in your field for a while. Switch jobs every 3 to 5 years as well between different software companies. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing, but there's a lot more risk in making video games, and there's a lot more burnout because you end up ramping up, working really, 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 really hard on this thing, and then it just accelerates as you get towards release. You have to do a lot more stuff, a lot more time. That's where the term crunch comes in, because you have these obligations with investors, your publishing partner that says, we agreed to release this game in 3 years. You guys have 6 months left. How the fuck are you going to make this happen? That's when like crunch comes in and you're like, oh, well, we just need more people to work longer. So they do a little bit of a hiring boom, and these contractors are all going to lose their jobs as soon as the product is released. So it's a lot of different factors that come into play to determine job stability in the games industry. And it's often not enough to just be really skilled at what you do. If you're someone like Adder, who's very skilled at what he does, Adder's always going to be able to find work. And it's kind of like his choice of where he wants to work, right? So that's kind of how it goes. It was more than just layoffs. Layoffs were just the product of the craziness. It was investors dropping teams on a whim that really had shit on fire. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing I was saying. That's the austerity I was talking about. Large quantities of investors pulling out of a market at one time was crazy to navigate. Felt like a minefield on the business side of things. Exactly. Went from a certain pay amount in 4 years, job hopping between junior, mid, and senior. Yeah, like doubling your pay. There's a lot more burnout, overworking in the gaming industry. Absolutely, Liquid Air. And that's because, like I was saying, there's a lot of like young people who maybe have never had a job before. They're like, I only want to make video games. They get in, they give everything they have, sacrifice, life experiences to ship this game. The company doesn't care about that. The company exists strictly to produce this product, and your personal contribution doesn't matter that much. It's not realistic to expect that they're going to look out for your well-being, because the company needs to survive more than that. And when the company does survive, then there may be an opportunity for you to go back. So like that's kind of the way you have to think about it too. I wonder how the job stability has been for Epic Fortnite's game devs, given it's a season by season subscription content DLC based game business strategy. So like if you're working on Fortnite at Epic, that's a pretty solid job. If you started working there 5 years ago, you're probably pretty happy and you're chilling and you're making a lot of money and doing well. Lots of career growth and stuff like that. Some studios pitch a better culture. Is that just false hope? Yes. Don't believe that shit. It's not a family. It's not. You're there at the end of the day for one reason, and it's to make an entertainment product that may or may not succeed. That's the thing you have to focus on if you really want to get into this business. They've been intentionally hiring outsourced studios to pad their numbers when needed. Small core team. Yeah, exactly. So maybe, I might have been wrong on that, Adder. Yeah, feel free to be like, nah, there's problems with what you just said. So, but I would assume I was kind of comparing that to other studios. There's probably less risk working on Fortnite. But yeah, that's one of the ways that Epic would keep operations costs down, is hiring a third-party studio. And so this is another thing you may not be aware of, Liquid Air. There's a whole ecosystem of support studios that exist. These are like middlemen that when I was talking about scaling a team up, these middlemen teams exist strictly to fill those gaps. So they're often looking to hop onto someone else's project and help them finish, knowing that they will not be there permanently. So they'll typically have several projects in flight at the same time and have a team supporting this game for this studio, a team supporting this game for this studio. They provide services like QA, marketing, social media management, digital asset creation, play testing. I already said that, QA. But yeah, like they do one of the things that you need a lot of bodies for, and a lot of produced content. You need stuff to put into a thing. That's mostly what they deal in. These guys This used to be a path to indie success previously. You'd have the small studio that did this outsourcing, business to business partnership work, and then they get big enough and successful enough and have enough projects going and a large enough war chest that they can go, let's make our own game now. And that's you see some studios get to that point and they just implode. They can't make it to that conversion, but you see others that will succeed, and then you get the next big thing. So I've talked about the games industry ecosystem in Colorado, and it's mostly those middlemen or publishers, right? Like there's one publisher, and it's Serenity Forge. So other than that, there's nobody in Colorado making stuff other than us, right? Like it's very, very small teams, not a lot of experience. Ilphonic is another one. They've worked on a bunch of different things and tried their own games, but their own games didn't do so well. So, they probably have like grown, shrunk, and they're trying to just stay operational and find and make a hit that gets them to that next level. So I used to be an avid player of Destiny 2, but Bungie has run it into the ground. You're speaking my language, Liquid Air. I worked at Bungie for 5 years on Destiny 2. So if you look back here, this is the Whisper. I don't know if you played during Warmind, but that was my contribution mentioned. Yeah, Turning Cog, Destiny mentioned. Oh, Vince is going to start talking about Destiny. But yeah, I did encounter design and quest design on Destiny 2 for about 5 years. I did D2. I made the Whisper, 0 Hour, quest on Titan. I did the quest for Saint 14 and Curse of Osiris. I did a bunch of shit over the years. So after that, I ended up working on a mobile golf game as a lead level designer. And then from there, I was a senior lead designer at Free Range Games. They credited me as a senior. I was a lead designer. I was running a team out of Czech Republic and yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, Liquid Air, I have mixed feelings. When I left was late 2019 and it was Shadowkeep. That was the release when I left, and I did not like the direction the game was going in. I really didn't like the weird lock and key mechanic of like the overcharged gun to destroy the extra shield on stuff. I didn't like the fear of missing out, the social mechanics that were leveraging human psychology. A lot of that was contrary to the type of stuff that I built. I built stuff that was inspired. I was inspired by Halo, and I built stuff that was like just a really good mission. That was always my focus. So we had this sort of like diverging design idea from like a leadership level and my personal goals. And I hated being in Seattle. So moved back to Colorado, worked at Topgolf as a lead level designer, worked at Free Range Games on a couple projects there. I shipped Return to Moria with them. They let me go about a month before release because it was that time. I was expensive and they had to get, they had to pare the team down to make the budgets and financials square. And then around that time, Tony and I have been friends for a while. We talked about starting a game studio, and that was in like May of 23 or March, April, May, somewhere around there, like kind of early summer of 23. And then we went full time on Fractal Grove, spent a bunch of time like trying to pursue investors. It was a really terrible time to do that. That was when the post-COVID austerity was hitting. So then we started live streaming about a year later, and we've been doing this since then. So yeah, we're going into year 3, and it's going well. Hate how they vaulted all the old content. I mean, brother, you're preaching the choir here. Makes the new player experience garbage. I think Destiny 2 right now is, and for the last several years, has been a game that I do not want to play. And it used to be one of my favorite games, especially when I was working there. Outside of playing the game at the studio and working on the game, I put like over 3,000 personal hours into it. I had like 3,200 hours. Got like a raid jacket and all that stuff, like that's, and they don't give you those. You had to do the day one raid and complete the challenge to purchase it yourself. So just the way it goes. I was very invested in it, but I really don't like that game now anymore. It's just not a game for me. I think the very last thing I worked on was the new light when they did the free-to-play thing and the PC migration and all that. No, PC already existed. But yeah, I did the Risk Runner exotic quest for new players that were coming in as free-to-play. How about 2,000 hours into it, but I haven't played in a while now. Yeah. There's I mean, that's Adder also worked on Destiny, but he was at a partnership studio. So like Adder and I probably worked on similar parts of the game together, or like, separate but together. Cause like I never talked to Adder directly. We have very different disciplines inside the games industry. But yeah, so this is I can't pick it up and show you, but this is a 3D printed prop model of the Whisper of the Worm sniper rifle from the Whisper mission. A friend made it for me and gave it to me as a gift, which I thought was very, very cool. So I love it. It's super fragile. I accidentally knocked the bottom jaw off. I gotta reaffix it with epoxy, but I'm glad you liked it, man. Thank you. I've done a few interviews about it. I did one with Datto and Holtzman. I did a talk for like 2 hours at Guardian Con the year it was announced it was being changed to GCX. So that was like live in front of like 5,000 people, and then like 12,000 on stream or something like that. Talked about it for like 2 hours. Yeah, I mean, the whole reason they don't make stuff like that is because I'm not there. I did that. That was like my creative vision. That was the things that I made. Whisper and Zero Hour were like something I was driving. So the exotic missions and the reason they exist, you're welcome. But yeah, it's the reason they don't make it like that anymore is because I'm literally not there. And so that's why. The dungeons were made by a dude named Brendan Thorne. I don't know if he's there anymore. He's like left and come back a couple times. He might be at another studio, but he made it was a Shattered Throne. It was like the Taken Dimension black and white level that was kind of like more open and free form, with like puzzle elements. So they were all kind of like built around the same time, but different experiences. And I made the exotic dungeons and created those as like an archetype of activity. I was talking yesterday about the creation of Mithrax and what my inspirations were for that. So Mithrax, the fallen, Kell of Light, and that whole dude, there was like a whole expansion based on him. That came from a mission that I made for the launch of D2, the zone quest or whatever, the area quest on Titan for the fallen captain, where you save or kill the captain. That was a mission that I made. It was one of the first major activities I contributed to in Destiny. I think the very first thing I worked on was the environment design for Firebase Hades, the big dish in EDZ. Yeah, I did a ton of stuff on Destiny. Turning Cog, don't say Yannick, bro. That's so weird. Yeah, I'm glad you like the exploratory puzzles, man. Yeah, the only reason I was able to make something that was good like that was I put so much time into it. Like I was a player just like you, man. And I just was able to work on the game, and I have some skills that translated really well into game development and like making cool stuff that people liked. So I'm glad you appreciated it. It's kind of the universal response that I get from people is like, that's sick. I really appreciated that. And so, yeah, I like that you're here. A lot of the core audiences we built, the Fractal Grove social media channels and stuff, are admittedly from Destiny. There are people who knew me from that. So and then the people who stick around are the people from the software and game dev community on Twitch. So your Turning Cogs, your Adders, your Bright Sides, fellow indie game devs. It's great having you guys here. But yeah, so some of the Destiny heads don't stay around, but it happens every now and then. Yeah, Turning Cog, that's why he was like Destiny mentioned and then posted that emote. He's been around long enough. He knows it happens. People will come in and be like, hey, you're the fucking Whisper guy, like blah, blah, blah. And then we just start talking about Destiny for a while. But yeah, there's no lost love between me and some of the people that I worked with at Bungie. I'm glad to no longer be there. I don't like what they're making now. I have a lot of mixed feelings, some ambivalence around Marathon. I hope it does well. The place is not the same. It's not the place that I was inspired to start wanting to pursue game dev as a career by the Halo 2 making of Vidoc that shipped with the collector edition and all that. So I was very, very into it, and I was like, man, these guys love what they're doing. I want to be a part of that. So then I finally got in there, 12, 13 years later or something. And yeah, I started making video games when I was like 30, and I didn't get hired at Bungie until I was like 34, 35. So yeah, and I'm 42 now. So I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, going on 15 years. What's up with the Star Wars stuff, dude? I don't know, man. That's some shit that I would have been vocally opposed to, and yeah, I was telling Tony, I've found, so there's, I don't know if you're familiar, like if you were a Halo head or you followed Bungie from Halo times, but they recently, Halo Studio made Halo Campaign Evolved, and they made a bunch of changes. And I saw some of the, older Bungie employees and designers commenting on it and what it meant. One of those guys is Jamie Griesemeyer, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's very weird. But dude was commenting on a bunch of that shit. And during my time at Bungie, I had some of the older people be like, man, you remind me a lot of Jamie, which was a good thing and a bad thing. I was very convicted in my concepts and ideas of what I wanted to put into the game. And they loved the passion about it, and they loved the ideas. But they didn't like that I didn't like sit down and shut up and sit in the corner. I always pushed to make good stuff, and that was the most important thing to me. I didn't care about inter-office politics or any of that. Wasn't playing games with people. I was just there to make good shit. So yeah, it meant that future for me at Bungie was probably not in the cards. Continued growth was like not a thing that I was going to have. Like I said, I don't know if I said this, but I started as a very junior designer, got into like a high mid-level designer. I was working my way towards senior, and I was told, I think 2 years in a row, that you won't be promoted to senior because you need more time. And a lot of it was like, you need to learn to sit down and shut up and like get in line and do the thing. And I was like, whatever you say, man, I'm not going to do that. The reason I make good stuff and the reason you guys even know about me and are considering me for a senior design position is because of who I am. So if I change who I am, I'm not going to do the thing, and I'm not going to do that just for a job, So like the weird part was my time at Bungie was simultaneously some of the coolest, most rewarding, and, fondest and proudest memories I have as a creative person in my career, but also some of the worst at the same time. It's very clear that Bungie does not have a healthy culture, and they hadn't for a very long time. So yeah, that's the Bungie stuff. But yeah, if you stick around Liquid Air, I'm sure I'll talk more about it, because it always happens. Turning Cog Adder, my bright side, Omni, Tony, everybody knows. Like I'm pretty vocal about a lot of this stuff. I don't tell you guys everything because I got to be careful, right? Like there's certain things that I can't say. So yeah, man, they are off the rails. It makes me sad. There are some people that I really, really respect and I loved working with that are working on Marathon, and I don't want to see them fail. But there are definitely some other people who I'm like, you don't even know what the fuck you're doing, and you're here because you're, a career game dev who's built all these like connections and shit. You're not good at your job. You're making really weird choices and building stuff that's like business first and not gameplay experience first. And we make video games. Gameplay experience should always be first. Every single time. It's the most important thing. We as gamers know that. We're going to buy games that are good game first. That's why we saw so much indie success over the last couple of years. Cool. Well, that's a bit of a primer for you, Liquid Air, on my Bungie time. But yeah, I left in late 2019. So I was like 2 months away from 5 years, 2-3 months, something like that. So, that's a great question. So Tony and I are the co-founders of Fractal Grove. I do creative direction, vision stuff, and kind of like, here's what we're making, why, and what the experience is like. That's a lot of that's my acumen. I have very poor technical skills, and Tony shores up a lot of that. So we are 50-50 partners. And this is our main thing. We are very focused on this, and we will, that's it. We have the luxury of being able to invest a lot of time and effort into this business. So for us, it's a matter of time before we find success and we're standing on our own. But currently, like, we can't pay ourselves from Fractal Grove. It's just not, it doesn't work that way. We don't have enough money. We can't pay other people yet. But the idea is that as we release games, as we do the stream, all these different revenue streams are going to come together, and then we will self-fund. It's just the way it's going to go. So that's our whole goal. Turning Cock said, I was having problems considering vision and gameplay, so super nice to be able to sit down and talk to Vince about that. Thank you, man. That's really kind. That matters to me a lot. I always second guess myself and get worried about, like, did I even give you good advice? So if you, I'm really glad that you said it was useful for you. So I did the same with Brightside. Queen Anne's another community member who's working on her own game called Endless U. Yeah, we've talked about a bunch of stuff. And Tony's really good for technical advice and, like, how to even fucking use these tools to make the thing that you're trying to make. So what is it you're making here? So Tony's working on prototypes for some ideas that we've been talking about for like 5 years. A game called Railgun. Brightside says, I took Fractal Grove's advice and now I have 3 dads. It was a win. Amazing. Yeah, so Tony's working on a prototype for a game that we are calling Railgun. We've got several projects in flight that we're working on. The main one that we're focused on now that we want to ship by the end of February is called Dread. We started in October. It's a psychological horror walking simulator targeting about an hour-long experience. Yeah, it's an asset flip. We want to do this to just put something out, make a flat game. Other than that, our flagship experience is called Hyperskate. And you can find all that stuff in our link tree if you check our social channels. So when I say flat, I'm describing something that is a traditional video game played on a screen. Hyperskate is a VR game, so very different experiences there. Railgun is a flat game. It's always meant to be a flat game. But the goal is, like, release some games, get some different revenue streams, get enough funding, hire teams, scale, get up to a point where we're large enough to ship projects that we are passionate about making and not get bigger than that. We want to stay under 100 people. And that's really important to us. Yeah, no. So the way Liquid Air, you're not actually looking at Dread right now. You're looking at Railgun. But the asset flip, we don't have an art champion. We need an artist to build all the art assets we need. So what we did was we went to the asset store and we got a bunch of assets, and we're going to work within a palette that we built around what the look of the game is going to be to service the vision for how the game is going to play and feel and all of that. So we take all this art that we got from the asset store and we're going to put those into the game directly and build the game out of that art. The tech is all proprietary. Tony's been building all that. It's really cool stuff. One of the core mechanics of the game is like the Lost Woods in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So, you walk down kind of an endless path and you can pick a different direction. You always come to these intersections and you make a choice. The correct path will have some differences and some clues that lead you to be like, well, this is different. If you choose the wrong path, when you get to the next intersection, you're at the very first intersection you ever came to. So you reset your position seamlessly, and Tony's built all that tech, and that works very well. So, yeah. Not a Death Stranding copy. Death Stranding is like real big. I don't think we're going to make anything like that for a while. The big game we want to do is Railgun. Second big game is Hyperskate. And then I would say the other games that we have concepts for, and they're not just games, but the other projects that we have concepts for are a lot smaller, probably around a year of dev time. Dread was supposed to be a 1 month thing. We increased scope because Tony built some very cool tech, and we can do very interesting things with that. So we hit about a month delay in November doing a refactoring of how the level structure works technologically. And then we took a break for December. And so we're coming back to it now. So, realistically, it's been about 3 months in development. But practically, it's been like a month of prototyping, a month of tech pipeline and functionality. And now we're getting back into like fleshing everything out and finishing out the game and then shipping it. So that's where we're at. But mental health and happiness is very, very important. So, Tony's really excited about working on railgun stuff right now. He's got some inspiration. Totally cool. It's absolutely fine. We don't have contractual obligations with publishers or anything in that regard. So we don't have this very tight timetable to keep to. We basically have our word with you guys and what we said we were going to do and how we were going to do it. You guys are funding us. Your donations and subs and all that contribute to us being able to run the business. So we're trying to keep our promises with you guys as our investors, if that makes sense. One of the commitments is just being here, 4 hours a week to chat with you guys and, show you everything and let you know what it looks like on the inside and what we've been up to. Yeah, hat trick of a game release schedule, bro. Yep. I mean, I don't know about that, but yeah, we got some stuff. Railgun is probably a 3 to 5 year project.
Oh yeah, this one will never be done. This is just like, yeah.
Railgun's like the big, yo, thank you for the Prime, brother. I really appreciate that. That's huge for us. That goes a long way. But yeah, Railgun's like, there's a lot of ambition for that. Early on, Tony was like, well, how do we do this? And I was like, we got to start small, simple mechanics, ship a couple games, like build out this thing. And he's like, I want to talk crazy. Let's talk about big vision. And so we've been talking about Railgun for a couple of years, like I said. So there's a lot of really solid ideas in here that I think will work really well. This one I think has some secret sauce that I don't want to give away. So I really don't want to talk about everything in that.
But it's also a game that requires the systems of Escape from Tarkov or something like that. And that in and of itself is a pretty major undertaking. So that made me kind of, since Lyra came out, I've been kind of the mind that Lyra is a good starting point for what we're trying to do. And I know I've kind of gotten a little sidetracked on that, but I was going to show just like a couple of things regarding Lyra that are good resources. One of them is, this guy calls himself Zist, but everything is X157. He has a Discord that's all about Lyra stuff. I've gotten some help on there a couple times with things that I couldn't figure out. But there's tons of articles on his website here, and I'll post this in Discord or whatever, but talks about, the pros and cons of building with Lyra, whether you should do it. And he talks about a mindset for building in Lyra where you kind of separate all of your code from the original code, which I think helps with like debugging and understanding where you change things that might be causing problems and stuff like that. And then he just has like a pretty detailed breakdown about a lot of different parts of how it all goes together and how it's built and how to understand different things. And I reference this constantly, and I actually gave this entire website to the AI as part of my project for like help me figure out the bugs and stuff like that. So this one is cool, and he has a link in here too for, there's this map of, yeah, right here. So this is a thing somebody made in Miro that tries to kind of explain how all of the stuff in Lyra works together, and it's very complicated, but you can kind of see, and I started trying to explain it earlier and then kind of stopped, but just something like the pistol has all of these different modular components to it, and all of this comes together and is kind of how you can use the different parts that they've created in different games and experiences and stuff like that. So he does not work for Epic. What makes him an expert is that he kind of had the same thoughts that I did, I think, when he saw Lyra, and just said like, that seems like a good way to build a game. I want to learn and understand that. And I think he says somewhere on his website that it just kind of was born out of him like writing notes and just figuring he should share them with people. And for a while there, he definitely kind of became the community authority on it, because Epic basically put out no documentation at first about how it worked or anything. So we've gotten more and more over time, but a little bit of the community's built up around it, and some of these documents and stuff are really cool. So yeah.
Liquid Air, if you want to check out some other really cool stuff, people in our community, Brightside Movement, he's a musician, but he started his career as a game dev like 2 years ago, roughly. He's shipped 2 games, just solo dev. So if you want to see someone who's super creative and is really self-motivated and like building cool shit, go check out Brightside. Give him a follow too. He's going to be live later tonight. He's going to be doing music stuff later tonight, but I assume, I don't know if you change your schedule, Brightside, if you have plans tonight, but Brightside is a very dope dude. Admittedly, he's a little more adult than we are, but it's a good time. He's very fun. Another person, Turning Cog, Turning Cog's working on his own projects, but he's done a lot of 3D modeling and he's like delved into that Blender side of things. He will stream sometimes, but he's also really prominent just around the software game dev community. He's in like every channel. And we have a bunch of people that pop in and out. Sushi Fu, I don't know if you came from Sushi Fu or if you just found us organically, but Sushi Fu's working on his own things too. That's one of the coolest parts about this community. Almost every single person in our community in chat is building shit, and everyone is super nice and helpful, very welcoming. That's where the Discord's really good. There was some very awesome conversation happening last night that I was just watching about like how to set up source control. We did a whole video about that yesterday. Liquid Air, if you're curious about source control and doing your own projects, Perforce is the way to go. We did a tutorial for how to like set that up on your own. So all of our live streams are VODs on our YouTube channel. So if you start watching some of that stuff and you like want to know what to check out, like go check those things out. And as always, if you have questions, drop those in the Discord. I saw that you popped in there, so thank you for joining. I've been playing around with game dev on my own time, but at first got caught up on what engine I should use. I've now come to the realization of just trying to do something as small as possible to get something out. Outstanding. That is a great way to start. Get the reps in. Yeah. Get your fucking weight up, dude. Start doing those, those bench press reps, man. You got it. Working on building simple point and click adventure game. Hell yeah. Very good. I would say if you're doing that, keep your mechanics very small. You know that point and click adventure is the thing. So that's your core mechanic, point and click. Try not to get too wild out there. Don't make an inventory system or anything else. Get that feel really good for your point and click. Hit your major beats. I like to write stories. So I write a whole story for the game that may not even be surfaced to the player. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about this. They're trying to peer pressure me to not have 200 projects, so the Perforce convo is a little my fault. Nah, you're good, bro. You can have as many projects as you want, Turning Cog. That's we're just razzing you. I think it's impressive. It's very clear that you're passionate about this and you're trying to figure it all out, which is great. I think Liquid Air, you can probably relate a little bit. A lot of people, when they want to become a game dev, you're like, where do I fucking start? That's another reason why we do this stream. We want to help you guys start. We want to help you get in there. We want to help you find success on your own. Build the things that you that are in your brain that you're passionate about, that make you happy. We want to help you build your creations. He just thinks I'm more adult because I got 3 dads now. Hell yeah, Brightside. It's crazy the amount of options out there. Yeah, I think Liquid Air. Do you know what engine did you pick? Because we're Unreal focused here. So if you need help with like Godot or Unity or something like that, I've done Unity dev before, but I'm not, I'm a designer, so it's different. I do like the player experience, and I use like the best way to think about it. The best way to think about it is like Lego bricks, if that makes sense. So if I get a bunch of different Lego bricks, I can build stuff out of that. It's like an abstraction of the block out, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I go. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Love having you here. Thank you for participating in conversation and hanging out with us, dude. It's really cool. Do you know what you want to build other than like point and click adventure? Do you have like themes, ideas, any of that? Is there anything I could help you out with in that realm as you get started? Turning Cog was saying, we had a long conversation. I was talking to him about like setting up design pillars for his game. He's got a really solid concept for like the story he wants to tell, but like figuring out where to start and how to like which parts of it to build, it's really difficult, because when you're like, this is the whole thing, you're like, where do I even begin? And you have to like shrink it down into this one piece that is a core, and that's what these pillars are all about. So it's a weird hand wavy design concept, but it's very, very important. They're kind of like guideposts and they're called pillars because the whole game stands on these. So if you're in violation of pillars, meaning that you've made something that isn't supported by the pillars of the game, it probably doesn't fit and you shouldn't put it into the game. There are exceptions and there are ways to make it fit, but you really need to be faithful for that. And that will help you, and that will help you just reach your goals. And then you set new goals, and your pillars can evolve, but you really want to keep them like pretty solid. Spend a lot of time thinking about them and defining what they are at the beginning. Here, let me see if I can read you the pillars for Dread. We use a tool called Notion, and I don't actually have it on my desktop right now, so I'm going over my laptop to get that for you. All right, so Dread has 6 pillars. 2 of them are soft, 4 are pretty solid and rigid. The first pillar is simple gameplay mechanics. Underneath that, I've defined those as a walking simulator and point-and-click discovery. So this is not really point-and-click adventure in the terms in like Monkey Island, right? But that's the player verb. You walk and you interact with the thing. So that's the first pillar. The second one is that it's single player. There's not going to be any multiplayer in here. That's for scoping purposes. If we think like, oh, it'd be really cool to add multiplayer to this, it doesn't fit for the design. And it's going to be too weird to try to have multiple players' perspectives occurring. And like, we're not going to be able to execute on the vision in that way. So single player is pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is the monster is never shown. So this being a horror game, we know that scope wise, if we show the monster, there's a whole bunch of support that needs to go into building that out. Animations, rigging, modeling, building certain things like using the sequencer tool to like have scripted monster interaction with the player. No, we have to leave it all up into the player's imagination to make them feel that sense of unease and spookiness. It also ties in psychologically. When you show the monster to the player, the monster's always going to be less scary after that. The more times they see it and the more times they survive it, the less the monster is actually carrying a sense of fear and anxiety that the player has. This being a horror game, that's very important. And then the fourth pillar is it's audio-driven psychological horror. So the visuals that occur that we're adding to this, because we know art is a scope limitation for us because we don't have art champions, the audio is going to be a primary driver. So the sounds that are happening, spatial audio, all that shit, when and where things trigger, that's the most important thing. Any visuals we create are supporting those audio experiences. So that's a scoping thing as well, but it helps keep us in line with like the type of shit we need to build. So now we go to the soft pillars, 5 and 6. The fifth one is Lost Woods environmental exploration. I was telling you about that Legend of Zelda, The Lost Woods. So the way that worked is you would go to this intersection, you pick to go straight, left, or right. And one of those, 2 of those would be a wrong choice. One was the correct choice. And you listen to the flute from the Skull Kid or whatever his name was. I can't remember. I think it's Skull Kid. But you listen to the sound of the flute to know which one to go into. So having that concept as like a exploration mechanic, it's a soft pillar because we don't have to do it exactly like that, but it is our focus. It's like the target for the experience, for leading the player through the space and experiencing the psychological horror of the game. The sixth one is narrative is delivered through environmental cues and interactable content clues. So what that means is we're not going to have any voiceover exposition. We're not going to have like a pause screen where we like just blab at you a while and tell you how to feel about the thing. This is why it's a soft pillar, because there are already some things that are sort of in violation of that. One of those is the beginning of the game. Instead of dropping the player straight in, we need to do some setup. So if you imagine how sometimes when you start watching a movie, they do title cards and shit like that, and then you get like Star Wars opening crawl, and it tells you like what's happening in the universe, and you read a little bit to give you some setting and exposition about what you're about to experience. So that is a little bit in violation because we need to tell the player what's happening. Otherwise, they're just going to spawn into a neighborhood, and it's going to be trickier to nail that experience. It's going to be a little immersion breaking, right? So those are the pillars for Dread. So if you think about it in simple terms like that, that will help you guide your project. And that was one of the things I talked with Turning Cog about. We went through and set up some pillars for his game and his concepts. So yeah, I'm glad that it helped you a lot. By the magic of television and the cake he baked earlier. Yeah, exactly. Tony's getting very proficient with the in-engine modeling tool. You don't even know, Brightside. He's made some crazy shit in there. Yeah.
Feels kind of dirty, but it's getting the job done.
I like this space, Tony. You got some cool stuff going on.
Yep.
I like that, like the tiers and the levels. Those are very cool. Like large steps and stuff. I like this this facility you're building here.
Yep. I will I'll flash the inspo and then I won't give it away too much. We're working on like this part right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. So this is the front door. Broadway's like over there. This is the back door. And this is like the tunnel and the side entrance.
Okay, nice, dude. Liquidator says, that is cool to hear. I have some ideas on story for games, but building it all out like that makes sense. So the process of game design is very heavily reliant on constraints. And what I mean by that is if you don't have some really solid guidelines, you need a lot of them to very focus your experience, to keep it very solidly focused on what you're trying to make the player feel and think about as they're going through your game. You need all these constraints. So think about it like this. We like games because we can understand the shape of the imaginary world. In reality, it's very difficult to understand the shape of the cosmos, nature, existence, right? Like, it's very difficult for us as human beings to do that. It's been the entirety of human history trying to define the nature of existence. Like, all human beings do this. That's why religion exists. That's why philosophy exists. That's why science began, right? Is trying to understand the shape of the universe we exist in. So if you think about that as an abstract concept, what makes games really rewarding and fun for human beings to play is you can see those subconsciously. You know the shape of the world you're in. We teach you how to play it, and you have these moments of like natural expertise as you get better at these different game systems, and then you're having a good time and you're exploring and you're discovering things. You're having emotional reactions to certain moments in a game, and all of that happens because of constraints, because you've been very clear about what the player can and can't do. A lot of people like open world sandboxy games because they can do whatever they want. But you have to remember that there are very specific constraints. I've used the turn of phrase player verbs. What that means is the actions that a player can take to interact with the game world. Player verbs are really important. And that's one of the constraints you have, is you say, this is the only way that the player can interact with the world. If you think about it as human beings, we have a significant amount of ways that we can interact with the natural world and our level of existence. They all bear consequences. Some of those are positive and some of those are very negative, like you die, and what I mean is, imagine you're trying to have the experience of like gravity. If you jump off something really high, you could become injured or dead, right? Like, having that in a game is probably a little too broad of a constraint, especially in like a point and click adventure. Like, why would you put gravity into a point and click adventure? I would say, even, why would you let the player walk anywhere they want? If you're going to try to keep your scope really small for a point and click adventure, you should target something like Myst or Monkey Island, where it's a still frame and you do stuff on that. It's going to make your project so much easier to do. You start considering like pure freedom of movement for your player, you have to build the motion, you have to build the player controller, you have to decide what the player can do. Can they run? Can they jump? Can they crouch? Can they, do they have a stamina meter? Is there a limitation to that? If you give them ultimate movability, like they're going to get out of environment and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So again, constraints. You want to tighten things down to only support those pillars of your game that you're going for. What are your thoughts on coming up with creative ideas? Sometimes it seems like my ideas are just copies. So try to remember this. There are no unique ideas. You're never going to find the brand new thing. I think a lot of people who endeavor to become creative get stuck on this idea of like, I have to come up with something no one else has ever come up with. You're not going to do that. Everyone's always, all ideas are already out there. They already exist. If you're struggling to come up with ideas at all, there's a couple resources I can recommend. Really good creative thinking tool is called Thinker Toys. It's a book. Let me drop a link in the Discord for you. Grab this one off. That's eBay. I don't want to do that. We'll go to Amazon and I'll give you that one. Here we go. Liquid air. It's a gross link, but whatever. That's how it worked from a Google search. Yeah. So check that out. What that is a collection of tools for putting you in the right mindset to be creative. It's a really tricky thing. You have to shift the way you think. A lot of the time, our minds get idle. We have lazy brains. This was a really good lesson I got in school, in art school. We have lazy brains, and you always want to take a shortcut. And that can manifest as you're building a mechanic, and you go, well, I'll just do it this way because it makes it easier for me to finish building this feature in my game, this certain game mechanic. You need to be very careful that taking that shortcut isn't harming the player experience. So you have to be like, well, I have to build it in this complicated way because that's actually a better experience than making my job easier as the person implementing this thing. So constraints again. Everything under the sun has been done. It's very cool to see someone like Brightside say that, who's like one of the most creative people I've met in a long time. Dude, you have you really do have a special creative flavor, and it's Brightside's shit. So yeah, I mean, ask him how he does it, homie's vibing and having a good time, and he comes up with really cool, interesting things that I would never come up with. But he's making a good point. There's no new ideas. I'm sure he's drawing from inspiration on things. Yesterday we were talking with Adder, and he was saying in his groups where they're talking about design and building things in the games that he's working on, a lot of us who do these ideation things and coming up with concepts, we consume a ton of entertainment content. Stories really, really matter. So watch a lot of movies, listen to a lot of music, and I'm talking about stuff you never would do normally. Try to understand why people value these experiences and how the person created that thing that makes people like it. So understand what someone likes about it, understand how to replicate that or build your own version of it. But having all these references of movies, TV shows, novels that you've read, all of this really matters. That helps you become so much more creative. A great example I can give you is when I was working on the quest on Titan. I literally said this yesterday. When I was working on the quest on Titan about Mithrax, when you save or kill the captain, my inspiration from that was a film from 1985, was it? Called Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid. Yeah, and it seems weird, but that's literally what the first thing that popped into my head. And I like this concept that in war, soldiers are dehumanizing each other. There's no individuality. That is the enemy. You must destroy the enemy. And that's the whole point of Enemy Mine. These two adversaries have to work together to survive on a very hostile planet. They were both in space fighters, shooting at each other. They shoot each other down, crash on the same planet and then go to kill each other, like in melee combat, you know, like they're going to like kill each other, and they find this like, oh shit, he's just like me, you know, like this creature, this alien is just like me, the human being, and the alien is like this weird hominid is just like me, the lizard man, you know, and they have this moment. So that was what I was going for with the quest on Titan. It was actually codenamed Enemy Mine in the way it was all set up. The you know, the title for the quest as I was implementing and putting it into the game was called Quest Enemy Mine. So yeah, he just like me for real, the movie. I want to do something similar to The Past Within. I don't know The Past Within. Let me take a look at that. So this is an important thing. You know, you're being inspired by The Past Within. That's great. That's really good. Do your own flavor of it. Put your own spin on it. It's a co-op experience. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you want to do a co-op experience. Be aware that scope is going to be harder with that. Okay, so this is like a same room co-op where you have to communicate with another person. Interesting. Okay, so this is going to sound weird, but I would say in what I'm watching about this seems to me like a training exercise for help desk support, because communication is fundamental. So you have to be able to describe what you're looking at to someone, and they have to be able to understand what you're saying. So like there's this implicit communication that occurs between human beings who know each other and know their personalities well. And then there's a different level of communication that happens between strangers. So finding that common ground to like speak the same language is important. You wouldn't want to do that part of it? Okay. Well, help me understand like which part would make sense for like, oh, you do the single player one. Am I looking at the wrong thing? Past Within by Rusty Lake. That's the developer and publisher. It came out in 2022. It looks kind of like hand-drawn, like flash art type of stuff. Looks a little spooky. Oh, you were trying to post a link. Drop it in Discord. We don't allow links in Twitch chat. We were getting spammed with links when we were early on. Lots of bots were coming in and being like, best streamers here, and like get more bots and all this other shit. So we had to just ban links. But yeah, drop that in the Discord. Yeah, you could do general game dev. It doesn't really matter all that much, honestly. Our Discord's not super popping, you know, where we have to like be careful about who posts what where. Otherwise, like conversations get lost. So yeah, don't worry about it in that way. Rusty Lake Winter Sale. Cube Escape. Okay. I've got Cube Escape Collection. Yeah, let's just look at this. Classic point and click adventure anthology. I like that. That sounds cool. Dale and Laura. Mr. Crow and Mr. Owl. All right. Yeah, dude, this is very doable. Very, very doable. I like this. This is exactly what I was saying. You have like a still frame. Stuff is happening in it, but the player can't like move freely anywhere, right? This is good. This is a good scope, especially if you're doing this on your own. Yeah, really good scope, especially for a solo project. You don't even have to do all the animations that they have in there. Like, you really don't. I feel like the heavy lift for this is going to be art. So try to keep that in mind. You know, visuals are really important for you. Try to look at like Fab and see if there's anything interesting on the Fab marketplace, assuming you're going to do this on Unreal. Okay, this is cool. Nice. All right, Tony, we're definitely over, but how are you feeling?
And I'm at a good stopping point. We should probably wrap her up.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm starving. I gotta go eat. Otherwise
Same.
I'm gonna die. But yeah, you know,
Appreciate everybody coming through.
Yeah, thank you, Liquid Air. I really appreciate it. And you know, like I said, the Discord's the best place to keep in touch with us. So just you know, drop us messages, holler, say what's up, ask for help, all that. Like that happens a lot. Yeah, you're welcome, Brightside. Thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, you have a good weekend too. You got any interesting plans for the beat off tonight or what? You're very welcome, Liquid Air. That's the whole reason we do this. It's, you know, as you noticed, Tony is working away on something and I'm yapping. That's our format. That's what we do. It took us a while to kind of find that, but that's been the most successful way for us to stream. Is I'm just, you know, it's almost like a TikTok brain rot that's live, where like one person's doing a technical complicated thing and the other person's just yapping about some bullshit. I'm the yapper about the bullshit, you know, and Tony's doing the interesting technical thing. Thanks, Brightside. Is it? Yeah. What are you doing for the beat off? Or do you don't like talking about it in here, do you? You're like, my secret is I never have a plan. We figure it out when I arrive, which is totally fine. But yeah, Liquid Air, if you're gonna be on Twitch, you know, more tonight, go check out Brightside, see what he's got going on. Turning Cog, I don't know what your stream schedule's like, but you know, if you want to check out Turning Cog, you can see what he's working on too. Sometimes you come up with it as the countdown goes. Hell yeah, dude. Talking about 3115333.315.
The secret password.
Yeah, dude. I know your methods, bro.
Nice. All right. Well, we will see you guys later. Have a good one.
See you guys next week. Have a good weekend, everyone. Be safe, be kind.